All right, this update is brought to you by Wendy's. Padres Dodgers, first spring training game of the year. It's the top of the ninth inning, thankfully. Things almost over. Padres are trailing 14-1 against the Dodgers. His next game, a must-win for the Padres. We'll talk about it coming up next. And NFL news of the day, Matt Araiza, former Bills and Aztecs punter, signed a deal today with the Kansas City Chiefs. When you think
I would have given you $10 million if you said the Brian Dutcher show is tonight at 6 p.m.
No.
You just missed out on $10 million.
You don't have $10 million. You don't have $10 million.
Doesn't need it now.
You'll never know.
You'll never know. When you think Wendy's Biggie Bag, think go-to meal. What? Because with your choice of JBC or crispy chicken sandwich plus 4-piece nugs, junior fries, and a small soft drink, Biggie hits every time. So grab a Wendy's Biggie Bag today. U.S. price and participation may vary. Third-party delivery pricing may be higher.
I remember my first junior bacon cheeseburger.
This is oh.
Can we start over, please?
It's like the Padres game.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? Hour one of Jon and Jim. Bryce Miller, UT, will join us at 4:30. Chuck Culpepper, Washington Post, wrote about San Diego State. He'll join us at 4 p.m. We're not going to overreact.
Yes, we are.
We're not going to overreact.
Yes, we are.
We're not going to overreact.
Unleash the fury!
We're going to overreact.
Okay. So it's one of those, this is the classic example of like, you have to laugh about it. Otherwise you'd cry. I mean, you wait all winter. Hope springs eternal. It's the Cactus League. Joe Musgrove is healthy. You're going to see Jackson Merrill. And before the Padres come to the plate, it's 8-0. Again, it doesn't matter. But before the Padres come to the plate, it's 8-0. So as Jim said in the update, it's 14-1.
Is that good?
You can't win the Cactus League in February, but you can lose it.
No, they've definitely have an uphill battle now.
So it's a long year, but it's been a long day for Padres. I mean, it's funny because it's ridiculous. It's only one Cactus League game. I mean, who cares? But if you watch this thing, which we both have a lot of here today, this has not exactly been the way you were hoping to start the season after not seeing the Padres for the last 5 months.
I know it's the first spring training game. Okay, first game at Cactus League. But after that first inning, I immediately thought of the scene from Family Guy where Stewie's in the stands and it's
next season or whatever.
Yeah, it's the first pitch of the season and the season's over.
Yeah, it's like for the Mets.
Yeah, for the Mets. Now, that's not the case here. These games are whatever. It's just when you like you said, when you wait this long, and especially after how last season ended. I mean, it felt like all of last season was, well, not all of last season, but the last half of last season was, can we just get to next year? Because unless they had a miracle run, which they didn't, and they blew it all away in August and then tried to have a fake run in September. But the reset button, it's always one of those, okay, can't wait to see this new team. Can't wait to see, some new players. Can't wait to see Jackson Merrill, Joe Musgrove back off of injury. Fernando Tatis Jr. is getting interviewed in the first inning, right? It's Padres, Dodgers, like, let's go. And like you said, it's 8-0 before you could even blink.
I mean, it's almost like it's comical because, again, if you're not laughing, you're kind of crying at it. I mean, there's one real thing. I was thinking this driving in before the game started. I'm like, there's only one thing I even care to concern myself with. I'd like to see a healthy Joe Musgrove. And I just want to see him work an effective inning. That's all that I care about. I know he's going to pitch in Korea, hopefully, and he's going to hopefully start game 1 or game 2. And it was a lost season last year because of injury. So I'm thinking to myself, if Joe Musgrove has a good inning, I don't care what else happens. The starting pitching is so crucial. You have these players locked up for long-term deals, making a lot of money. And I get it. It's a Cactus League opener. The world's going to keep spinning and everything is fine. He faced 4 batters. But even Joe Musgrove, like if you're being honest, you don't envision this. You don't wait all offseason off a down year and a lost season to face 4 batters and all of them reach. And that's all I was caring about. I'm like, that kind of sucks. And then it only snowballed from there.
Okay, so do you want to go over the positives first before we just go full overreaction? Because there were some positives.
Yeah, it's 70 degrees. That was nice.
No clouds in the sky.
Last year was rainy in spring training.
Seems like everyone got out of the game healthy.
Sure, go over the positives.
Jake Cronenworth had a home run. Yuki Matsui looked great.
He looked great.
Jeremiah Estrada looked great. Yeah, that's all I got. Oh, Jackson Merrill had a couple nice catches in left field.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
And by the way, here are the takeaways for me. Fernando Tatis Jr., in talking with the ESPN crew, said he hopes Jackson Merrill makes the opening day roster. That, to me, leads me to believe that he will make the opening day roster if Fernando Tatis Jr. is saying that. So we'll see. There's a long way to go. The only other takeaway from the game is ringing up Ethan Salas on a pitch clock violation on a 3-2 pitch in a 14-1 game. So my 3 takeaways are this. Musgrove, I'm sure he hoped to pitch better than he did, but it's not the end of the world. You never want to be in a 14-1 spring training game in your opener. And Tatis says Merrill needs to make the team. And I hate the pitch clock sometimes. Not all the time. I like this quicken games, but come on, man. Let Ethan Salas bat. Who cares if it takes an extra half second?
You want my hot take after one spring training game blowout loss to the Dodgers?
Yes, please.
This lineup it could be a problem.
I hope you're kidding. But the way you said that is like you're not.
Here's my thinking, because I was thinking about this. I'm like, okay, do I want to overreact? No. But when you look at the lineup today, and I know it's just, who cares? Whatever. Jake Cronenworth's hitting third, second, whatever.
Okay? Is this your overreaction take or your take?
I didn't play. Still, when you put Manny in that lineup, and it's one of those things where, regardless of you just see it. You're just looking at the lineup. The bottom half of this lineup is going to look at times not great.
Which is true. We've said that. Forget this game. They could be up 14-1. We'd say the same thing.
Yeah. Like it wasn't like Tatis and Manny and Bogarts were all on the bench today. It was just Manny. And when Manny's in there, still, he'll probably hit third. I don't see why he wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But once you get past Manny, depending on if they really are going to put Bogart second, even though Bogart says he didn't like hitting second, and if you look at his career numbers hitting second in the lineup, it's not great.
Okay.
And if they put Tatis in the leadoff spot, which I'm okay with, I know you're okay with that.
I'm all for it.
The rest of this lineup,
yeah, you're saying like it's a long way back to the top of the order. Like it gets thin quick.
Very quickly.
Now, we were thinking to ourselves, well, maybe he's not finished. That's what we said all offseason. And then they signed Jurickson Profar. Maybe he's going to make a trade. Maybe they'll sign Tommy Pham. Maybe Jackson Merrill. But it's a lot of maybes and what ifs.
And I don't think that's an overreaction or a hot take, because that was kind of the same reaction that we've had in the take that we've had, or at least I've had, up until right now.
That is a thin lineup?
That it's not only a thin lineup, there are still massive holes. And when you see it, like, on the screen, actually in front of your face, it stands out more to me. That's my takeaway from today. I have really no concern about Joe. I mean, first spring training game.
I agree.
As long as he's healthy. I thought Yuki Matsui looked fantastic. Jackson Merrill, he had 1 at bat today, 2 at bats,
2,
and he looked fine in the outfield. The whole pitch clock thing was stupid. The takeaway for me is when you see this lineup, like in person with your own 2 eyes, and if you just insert Manny, which is the only regular that was missing today, it is still a very, very thin lineup at the bottom, and that could be a problem.
A couple of things out of today. I'm with you. There's no need to, honestly, we're going to overreact to everything, even though there's no reason to overreact to anything from the game, but the points from the winter remain the points today.
Exactly.
That's the issue. It's not that you're down 8-0 in the first inning.
Yeah,
it's not that it's 14-1. It's that you're right. I mean, you need Kim again to have that career year.
Mm-hmm.
You need Cronenworth to bounce back. And then I don't even know what you need from like the Azokars and the Merrills you just need something that is impossible to envision. I mean, you need help. You still are in a situation where, as of today, you have 2 outfielders on your 40-man roster. Profar's not here because of visa issues.
Mm-hmm.
Merrill's not on the 40-man roster. He's 20 years of age. So that's my takeaway is like it's an unfinished team. And, Schilt can say what he wants. And it can be a very uplifting spring. But at the end of the day, like it's an incomplete team. Now, the good news is it's February 22nd. Not March 20th, but man, we're ticking closer by the day. They're leaving March 13th, and it has nothing to do with today. It has everything to do with the offseason, which they haven't done anything. I mean, a couple of relievers, great. It could be valuable. There's no question about it. Profar's a nice fifth outfielder, utility pinch hit
bench
option, but
vibes guy.
But other than that, like, you had Juan Soto and you had Josh Hader and you had Blake Snell, and those guys aren't here anymore.
Because usually with spring training lineups, there's always a mix between the veterans or the everyday guys and then some minor league guys, and lineups can look very wonky.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely very wonky. Like I said, this lineup was just missing Manny Machado. Everybody else in this lineup is vying for a major league roster spot with Jose Azokar, Eggy Rosario. You have Cal Mitchell, who was the DH today.
Yep, San Diego. Yep.
Jackson Merrill in there. I mean, what you hope also too, Luis Campusano takes a step this year as well if he's going to be hitting in the middle of that lineup. Seeing it with your own two eyes, you start to say to yourself, "Oh, this could be a problem. This could be a problem if it's not addressed before the season."
And again, we're not going to overreact, and I'm not going to do it to this one game, but it's not like you were facing Koufax and Kershaw today in their primes, by the way, either. I mean,
or Ohtani in his prime.
What I mean? I mean, to your point, you had regulars in there and you didn't do anything. It means nothing.
It means nothing.
Like I have to qualify it all.
Yeah.
With it means absolutely nothing. But again, to wait 5 months and to see AJ Preller do nothing for 5 months, and then to see it on field, you're like, oh, okay, I know it means nothing, but I'm still like, maybe they should have done more this offseason to address some of the needs that they have.
And the one phrase that we on this show, I don't know about everybody else, but specifically on this show,
what have we said?
We will not use, and we didn't use it last year. We kind of did, but not really. But especially this year, we are not going to use it because they have not earned the benefit of the doubt. We will not be using the phrase, "It's still early."
Well, we will in spring training, I think.
When the season starts. When the season starts, John.
Okay.
So when the season starts, we have said they need to get out to a fast start if they expect to be in a wild card. I mean, a lot of things can happen in baseball season. We know that, but especially after what happened last year and the turmoil and this off season and everything and not making any moves. I mean, if you get out to a 10-17 start, well, come on. You don't think people are going to be freaking out? Yeah, of course people will, especially what happened last year.
Yeah, no, I agree because last year's a good indicator on that. I honestly don't. The game's thankfully over. They just lost the game 14-1.
God, thank you.
And the good news with baseball is they play every single day. They'll play tomorrow in Glendale against these same Dodgers. Last game against the Dodgers until the opener March 20th. I don't know who's going to start tomorrow. Again, at the end of the day, this is my takeaway today. It's not about today. It's about the offseason. It's not about today. It's about how they got to today. It's not about today. It's about what's going to transpire in 2024 because of what they've done this offseason. So a year ago was disappointing. We hear fresh start, new manager, better clubhouse dynamics. And it has nothing to do with today. But those questions we've asked all offseason are going to present themselves once the season starts. I just don't know how they can answer them. I really don't truthfully know how they're going to answer the questions that they brought upon themselves heading into 2024. I mean, I know how they can. They can get off to a good start, to your point.
Yeah.
But again, it's easier said than done. I mean, they're going to outplay teams from day one because they're going to be hungrier and they're going to be. I hope it happens. I really do, because if the opposite happens, people are going to have concerns right away, unfortunately, even with the new manager, right? That's what's going to happen.
So is Schulte on the hot seat already, or what?
No, I don't think he is, but he hasn't fixed the runners in scoring position issue.
What'd they go for with runners in scoring position?
Over. Well, they only scored one run, and we saw how it happened. It was on a solo home run. So it wasn't everything you had hoped it would be.
I was genuinely excited today, by the way.
Until the top of the first inning, right?
Because you watch the top of the first inning play out, and you're thinking to yourself, you know what? Yeah, this sucks.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it means nothing. We are going to continue to say, I know it means nothing. I'm not an idiot.
We get it.
We get it. But just like you want to see something different. You want to see like, oh, that was fun. Yeah. Like a little like.
All I wanted was Musgrove. Nice inning.
Yeah.
Am I asking for too much?
Just a clean inning.
Give up a hit. Yeah. But a scoreless inning. That's fine.
Don't not have record any outs and get taken out in the middle of the first inning.
By the way, I was listening. The pop-up over Bogarts, I was about to be like, move Bogarts back to short. I was listening.
Okay.
Was that a catchable ball? I'm getting into like the intricacies. Were you watching? Was it a catchable ball? The ball hit over Xander in the first inning. Does anyone know?
Horrible move to put him at second base.
Did he take a bad route? Did you see it by chance? I'm serious.
I did see it.
Was it a bad route?
And I was thinking the same thing, but I didn't want to go there because it looked like it was one of those in between, like,
oh my gosh,
that just kind of.
If Bogarts makes that play, does he get out of the inning and everything looks different?
Well, it's not good when you put in like number 94 with no nameplate on the back of your jersey in the first inning. By the way, I just didn't know who the hell those guys were.
Right.
I mean, it means nothing, but the point still remain is that this lineup, like, what's bigger concern to you going into the season?
Okay, the lineup or the rotation?
The bottom half of the lineup or the rotation?
Honestly, I think today you've convinced me it's the bottom half of the lineup. The rotation will figure it out. It's Petco.
And they have a bunch of arms.
They have tons of guys in camp. You're right. There's 8-9 guys fighting for two jobs, fourth and fifth spot.
And I truly believe that if this bullpen can stay healthy, they could be a very good bullpen. Now, it all depends on like how much they're used and if they're going to be overused because of the lack of, innings eaters in their rotation. Mm-hmm. But I do think that they have a lot of good arms. The innings part, that's going to be the biggest issue.
Right.
But yeah, man, this lineup, I mean, they struggled last year.
Big time. Remember their men in scoring position issues? The first 2 months of the season, they were last in baseball as a team.
Yeah.
Forget about the bottom of the lineup. As a team. And again, can it be made up for with really good quality pitching? Like, can you have a very average pedestrian lineup, which, by the way, they have stars in their lineup. They've got guys that are capable of carrying lineups in there. But again, can you make up for 6, 7, 8, 9 with Musgrove, Darvish, King, and your bullpen? Yeah, maybe. I mean, maybe you can win some games 3-2. They lost a lot of games last year, 3-2 and 4-3. They were terrible in one-run games. Maybe they win those games this year. But yeah, I mean, I'm with you. We said it all offseason. You lost a prolific hitter in Juan Soto, and you didn't replace him. So you didn't replace a prolific hitter on a team that struggled to hit a year ago. That's concerning on its face. That's concerning alone heading into the year.
If you have a top of your lineup with Tatis, Bogarts, and Manny, and those guys are getting on base, you're then expecting like Luis Campusano and Jake Cronenworth and Hassan Kim, and then if it gets past those guys, then you're going into like the real weeds here in your lineup. Mm-hmm. The Cal Mitchells, the Jose Azocars, the Jackson Merrills, the Eggy Rosarios, the Jacob Marcy's potentially, the Matthew Battens of the world, the Jerkson Profars. Like, then you're going to be relying on those guys. How many times did this lineup get on base last year, and it was dependent on the middle to bottom half of the lineup to come through?
I'm sure a lot.
A lot, it felt like.
I'm sure, yeah.
That's why Xander was hitting fifth a lot, and it was just he had a big down year from an RBI standpoint. That, to me, just seeing it in person for the first time this year, that to me is the biggest concern.
I had a feeling. Now 8-0. The top of the first inning took 30 minutes to play. Joe Musgrove didn't record an out, and the Padres used 12 pitchers. That wasn't part of the plan. in 9 innings. So
Yeah.
I think this is one of those you turn the page on it. Don't let one game beat you twice. We'll see what they look like tomorrow when they go out to Glendale to take on the Dodgers.
Does anybody know what the Padres' first spring training game score was from last year? Oh, I have it in front of me. Friday, March 18th.
That wasn't their first game.
That wasn't?
March 18th? That's so late.
That's what it says right here.
That's not their first spring training game last year. March 18th? Season started March 30th.
Well, maybe it's February 18th. I don't know.
Okay.
But anyway, their first
WBC.
WBC.
Yeah.
Their first spring training game last year, they won 6-4 against the Mariners. Completely different team.
And what did it result in? 80 wins or 82 wins? It means nothing.
This was their lineup to start last season, their last spring training opener. All right.
Well, guys were in WBC camp, right?
No.
Okay, it was before that. Yep.
Trent Grisham was leading off. Manny Machado's at third. I don't want to believe this, but it says it right here. Austin Nola was hitting third, playing catcher.
Wow.
Oh, no, this is 2022. My bad. Sorry. This wasn't last year.
This is great. This is
because Will Myers is on the team still. And Eric Hosmer's still on the team.
Oh, yeah.
Luis Campusano.
Yeah.
This was, by the way, this was Melvin's first spring training game. So
and then Franmel's going to have a big year.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. This was Melvin's first spring training game with the Padres in 2022. They won 6-4. Schulte lost 14-1. Do we have a controversy on our hands? Possibly. Do we have a manager on the hot seat already? Possibly.
All right. What's your hot take here, folks? 70470 started with team. What's your overreaction out of today?
Hot take.
877-767-4760. 877-767-4760 or 70470 started with team. Chuck Culpepper wrote a brilliant, beautiful article on San Diego State men's basketball today in the Washington Post. He will join us at 4 p.m. Bryce Miller, who caught up with Bob Melvin in Scottsdale yesterday, now managing the Giants. Bryce is going to join us coming up at 4:30. Padres lose their Cactus League opener 14-1. We're overreacting next on Jon and Jim. All right, hey guys, it is Schaefer for Novo Brazil Brewing. I just picked up some Nova non-alcoholic kombucha actually earlier today over at Windmill Farms. Novo Brazil Brewing is a proud supporter of the Mesa Foundation Collective, which supports San Diego State men's and women's basketball. They've got that brand new co-branded kombucha, the Aztecs Raspberry Kombucha, that was taste tested by Lamont Butler, Jaden Ledee, Micah Parrish, Cade Alger. Really, really cool product, limited edition. Get your hands on it. You have to swing by these Novo Brazil Brewing locations in San Diego. The IB spot is spectacular. The Otay Ranch location, which is huge with massive LED screens, and their brand new fresh spot in Mission Valley. It's been open maybe 6 or 7 weeks. Novo Brazil Mission Valley is indoor-outdoor. It seats 350. They've got a full bar menu, 60-plus taps of Novo Brazil beer, plus Nova Kombucha, plus seltzers, plus it's great for the family because of all the food offerings and all of the TVs and all the games that are on. These are the best sports bars in San Diego, but they've got sandwiches and salads, tacos, empanadas, burgers, Brazilian-inspired entrees, of course, appetizers as well. Get there this weekend for your sports viewing pleasure. Novo Brazil, Mission Valley, IB, Otay Ranch, and for more information, visit novobrew.com. That's novobrew.com.
All right, this update is brought to you by Wendy's. Padres, Dodgers. Thankfully, it is over. Dodgers beat the Padres 14-1 in the first Cactus League spring training game of the year. Moving over to NFL news today, the Kansas City Chiefs signed former Aztec and Bills punter Matt Ariza. And tonight, 6 p.m. is the Network Coaches Show with John Schaefer and Coach Dutcher right here on San Diego Sports 760. When you think Wendy's Biggie Bag, you think go-to meal deal, because with your choice of a junior bacon cheeseburger or crispy 4-piece nugs, junior fries, and a small soft drink, Biggie hits every time. So grab a Wendy's Biggie Bag today. U.S. price and participation may vary. Third-party delivery pricing may be higher.
Reactions. Padres lose to the Dodgers in the Cactus League opener today in Peoria.
I need fire takes. I need fire takes.
70470. Start it with team, or you can call us 877-767-4760. We've got tickets to give away today as well, by the way. 4 o'clock hour. Shamrock St. Patty's Day Music and Beer Festival, March 16th. We'll give those away in the 4 o'clock hour. We'll be joined today by Bryce Miller from the UT. Caught up with Bob Melvin yesterday. He'll join us at 4:30. Also on the show today, Chuck Culpepper, Washington Post. He wrote really a brilliant piece on San Diego State. He's going to join us coming up at 4 p.m. Is there anything on the text line you'd like to react to?
Oh, there's a lot.
Okay.
619 number says Padres should have hired Benji Gill.
Okay.
719 number said we lost today because of Bob Melvin.
It's a hot take.
Hot take.
Yeah.
913 number says, are the Padres going to be the worst team in Major League Baseball?
Through one Cactus League game, maybe.
Maybe they should get the over-under that the A's got.
Weren't they run differential kings a year ago? Remember the Padres? I was like, well, yeah, they're under 500, but look at this run differential.
714 number. Padres played like Schulte today. Good pun.
Has Mike Schilt spoken with the media as of yet? We need to hear from Mike Schilt.
This is a great text. Great overreaction hot take of the day. 971. Ethan Salas is a bust and Merrill's just average.
No doubt.
I mean,
it's easy to say off today.
Yeah, when you go 0 for 2 with 2 strikeouts and Jackson Merrill goes 0 for 2 with a little weak little grounder to first base and kind of makes an okay play in left field, but it's because he had a bad route.
Yeah, let's just overreact to everything.
Average, bust, loser.
Here's the thing. The takeaway remains the takeaway. I'm going to say it all spring. This is what was our theme last year, Brent? It is what it is because they are who they are or something.
It was
very long hashtag.
Yeah.
My hashtag this year is, I don't care what they do this spring. They didn't do enough in the winter to take care of their needs. And then it's going to pop up the little Padres logo. You know what I mean? Like, they didn't address their needs.
No,
they didn't improve off a team that needed to improve.
Hey, but did you see they're ranked 4th in ESPN's minor league rankings?
Which, again, could be beneficial at some point, maybe in 2024 or 2025. But yeah, like, to start the season, they didn't address their needs. Now the season hasn't started. Maybe they address pitching. Maybe they get a left fielder. Maybe they get a center fielder. Maybe they get a DH. Remember when we played Mike Schulte yesterday or 2 days ago, and he was asked about who do you envision as the DH, and he said that's a good question.
He's like,
I don't know. We can give guys half days off. I mean, other teams have DHs.
They don't have a DH. They don't have a left fielder. They don't have a center fielder. And
I hate to compare it to the Dodgers.
You're pushing it with the first baseman.
And I hate to compare them to the Dodgers. That's not fair because, okay, the Dodgers had this record offseason where their 8th biggest move is like Teoscar Hernandez. And it's this huge deal.
Yeah, no big deal. It's a 1-year, $23 million contract.
So honestly, it's not fair to compare them to the Dodgers, but what if I want to compare them to the Phillies and I want to compare them to the Braves and I want to compare them to the Diamondbacks and I want to compare them to even the Giants? You know what I mean? Like, we're got to compare them to someone because they have to qualify for the postseason against these teams. So I can compare them to what other teams have done. And I'm still concerned. Forget about the Dodgers.
Yeah. Forget about the Dodgers. The teams that they're going to be competing with are the likes of the Phillies, the maybe the Cubs, the Diamondbacks,
the
Cardinals. I don't want to put the Mets in that category.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe though. Their projected win totals at Fangraphs are higher than the Padres.
I gotta see what the Brewers. I don't really know, but the Brewers always seem like they're good, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Giants are in that category as well. I don't know about the Marlins, even though they made the playoffs last year. They lost Soler.
Right.
My point is, it's you're competing with a lot of teams, and you're smack dab in the middle of that group. And it's going to be extremely tough because you're not just, I mean, winning your division, you're competing with 3 other teams essentially because the Rockies suck or whatever the case may be, right? To get a wild card spot, it's just the field is bigger, it's harder. You're competing with, it is a much harder path to get to a wild card because one, like you said, they just didn't address any of their real needs besides getting some pitchers that they needed, which is nice, but you lost a Cy Young Award winner and you have no left fielder. Like you just didn't address any of your needs at all. And it kind of just, I know that spring training games, the first one doesn't mean jack, what, but it kind of jumps off the page when you look at the lineup.
Yeah, because the lineup actually may be comparable to what they may feel on opening day. Sure, Manny Machado is a big part of it.
Right.
And Manny Machado might be in the field from day one. And yeah, I mean, Manny Machado is capable of being the National League's MVP. So not having the National League's MVP or someone that's capable of that is a big loss. But you're right. I mean, there's some real
issues,
concerns. It's not yet an issue until it is an issue, but you can forecast it. It seems as clear as day that certain things need to be addressed, and it has nothing to do with spring training. That's the amazing thing about all this, that if they would have won 14-1 today, the issues are still there. Like that's the issue with spring training. It is just a big mirage. Jackson Merrill could hit 400 this spring. It doesn't mean he does anything in the regular season, or he could hit 100 this spring and he could hit in the regular season. I'm just saying, like, spring training is a mirage. What's not a mirage is the team that they're going to field. What AJ Preller and his group have done here this offseason, that's real. And unfortunately, they haven't done enough for Padres fans to be overly confident. How do I know that? Think back to 12 months ago. The expectation and the excitement and the energy around this team was unprecedented around the Padres. Now, again, not to say they can't win and have success. I'm just saying I feel the trepidation. I'm sensing people like slowly, like they're not 2 feet in yet. People are like, I don't know. I don't know what to expect. Unlike last year, they're like, we're going to win the World Series. And if we don't, it's a bit of a failure. I'm not sensing that right now with Padres fans.
I'm sensing that coming off a bad year makes everybody very uptight. It makes everybody the first chance to say, hey, I told you so. I told you so. The feeling of you don't want to go through what happened last year again as a fan with the players on the team right now. You get a little PTSD. Like, oh man, here we go again.
I mean, the top of the first inning is cruel. You waited 5 months to get the sour taste out of your mouth. And again, it means nothing.
Yeah.
But you give up 8 runs to the Dodgers in the top of the first inning.
Musgrove doesn't even record an out. Did he record an out?
No,
he didn't.
He threw, how many pitches did he throw to not record an out? Does anyone know that? 30, 25? You can't let him throw more than that.
Let's check here.
So it was a good amount of pitches for 4 batters. It had to be 6, 7.
I'm curious to see what he has to say.
Hey, so am I. Like, I don't know if we see pitches, by the way, in game day.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times you might get a situation from a starting pitcher who is a veteran and established guy like Joe Musgrove is. He might have had a mindset to go out there and work on some pitches and not really care. Like, I'm trying to work on my breaking ball, or I'm trying to work on my, off-speed pitches, or my fastball, or whatever the case may be.
But day one,
I know. I'm trying to like.
Yeah, and I'm not saying there's no issue. There's no issue. There's literally no issue unless he tells us there's an issue.
Yes.
But I mean, believe me, he went into the game envisioning recording it out. That was definitely in his plan for the day. Part of the plan was, let me get someone out. His plan for the day was to get through an inning. I'm positive of it because that's what Mike Schultz said. That was the plan.
And I just looking at the Dodgers, and again, it's a spring training game. It's whatever. But it feels like the approach from them at the plate, just as a team and as an organization, is.
Oh, no, you're not giving me approach off today, are you?
Oh, I'm giving you approach. I'm trying to give you a hot take, bro.
And Ohtani, I mean, they didn't even have him.
Imagine if they had Ohtani in that lineup. Would have been way worse.
Who else wasn't in their lineup? I mean, Betts was in there. Chris Taylor was in there. Freeman was in there.
That must be nice. Like, their B team
could win some games.
It could win 95 games.
I don't know about 95, but it could win some games.
They could win 90 games.
Maybe.
You take out Ohtani and Freeman, they still have a damn good lineup. as it is.
Well, that's why I think someone wrote in the Athletics survey about the National League's best teams. The best 3 teams or the best 3 off seasons were the Dodgers, Oklahoma City, and Tulsa. They're AA and AAA affiliates.
Yeah.
Okay, it's February 22nd.
Oh man, any more hot takes on the text line here?
We'll get to him on the other side. Plus, Chuck Culpepper, Washington Post, will join us at 4 p.m. He wrote an amazing piece on the East Coast bias that impacts San Diego State men's basketball. He'll join us at 4 p.m. At 4:30, Bryce Miller, who caught up with Bob Melvin yesterday in Scottsdale. We're with you until 6 p.m. Great giveaway for you in the 4 o'clock hour as well. Stay with us on Jon and Jim. All right, spring training pick'ems are here from Underdog Fantasy, and Jim was a winner earlier today. What was your winner today?
I was. Gavin Stone, I had lower than 1.5 strikeouts.
Starter for the Dodgers.
And I had Joe Musgrove lower 1.5 strikeouts.
And he didn't record now.
He did not record now. Both my picks hit. I won money today from Underdog Fantasy.
As simple as that. With the pick'em game, you pick between 2 to 5 players like Jim did. Select higher or lower on player stats. If your picks hit, listen to this. You can win up to 100 times your money in one single night.
It's legal in California, and I love playing with Padres players or my favorite NBA players, and you could do the same while watching your favorite team. If you love fantasy sports, you're going to love Underdog Fantasy. It's the best and easiest way to win.
Padres pick'ems, MLB spring training pick'ems going on right now. Go to their easy-to-use mobile app or underdogfantasy.com. Sign up with promo code Jon and Jim. Write that down. JONANDJIM. Underdog's going to match your first deposit up to $100. You're going to love their mobile app. Plus, they'll give you a free special pick as well.
That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code Jon and Jim to get your first deposit of $10 or more matched, plus your special pick. Must be 18 years or older and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms do apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org.
about San Diego State's men's basketball program and like why people sleep on it. Yeah, pay attention to FAU. It's like everything I've ever said, and they put it in the Washington Post today on the front page of the sports page. I'm like, thank you, Chuck Culpepper. I'm thanking you, Chuck. Ted Leitner's quoted throughout this. It's the greatest article you've ever read.
You reached out to Chuck Culpepper?
Yeah, he's joining us in 10 minutes. You are literally the worst.
I'm joking.
At 4:30, Bryce Miller will join the show. By the way, this is how you know it's a bad day for the Padres. You've got your brand new double play combo, switching positions with Bogarts and Kim. Not one ball is hit to either.
Oh, that's not right.
Well, no ground ball is hit to either.
Oh, ground ball.
Right? There's no ball to be fielded. Four. Okay. So there was that. By the way, Kevin Acey reporting today after the game, Manny Machado expected to make or likely will make his active debut as a DH Saturday. They could use him.
They really could use him after today, exactly. This team needs a little pop in the lineup.
Ohtani is not expected to play tomorrow for the Dodgers, and the Padres meet the Dodgers again.
They are waiting for an opener to unleash Ohtani on the Padres.
What opener? Oh, the opener.
The season opener.
And then who did you say is going to start for the Padres tomorrow in Glendale?
Burrito.
Johnny Burrito.
Johnny Burrito.
Who came over in the Yankees Juan Soto deal.
Correct. Are they trying to convert him to be a starter?
Yeah, he's definitely in camp. I think he's competing for a starting job, and so is the other reliever that they brought over last year. Who was that? Vasquez? Who came over the Soto deal that had pitched in the bullpen for the Yankees last year?
Yeah, Burrito, Vasquez.
Yeah, so Burrito and Vasquez are both vying, I think, for rotation spots right now.
Okay.
Again, do they make a trade? Do they sign someone? There's other guys in there, Avila, Waldron, these names that we're more familiar with, I would say, are competing for it as well. Again, if you missed it, you didn't really miss it. Padres lost earlier today to the Dodgers in their spring training opener, 14-1.
Run differential is
it's a concern.
Already an issue for this Padres team. I mean, they were even talking about on the broadcast. Kevin Brown mentioned the Padres run.
Didn't.
Swear, I promise you.
I texted Kevin during the game.
He mentioned run differential last year for the Padres.
Listen to this, okay?
Yeah, what did you say?
I can't. I said, why do you always get the best and most thrilling games? This was in the 7th inning.
Oh, that's a struggle. It was a struggle.
And he's like, I don't even want to go back and forth because it's not fair, but I did text him in the 8th inning. If the Padres win, I'll buy you an island. When it was 14-1. I mean, it was bad. Now, thankfully, he had the full crew. He had 2 in the booth plus sidelines.
Yeah, Alden Gonzalez on the side on the dugouts.
Whatever. But in a game like that, when you're pitching guys in A-ball,
Perez and Tim Kirchin.
I mean, you need that when you're doing a spring training game on television.
Yeah,
and it's 14-1, and A-ball players are playing in the 3rd inning.
Struggle.
Yeah. But I thought again the top of the 1st inning interview thing with the mic issues,
longest top of the 1st inning ever.
It was like a playoff game, wasn't it?
It's like 40 minutes.
It was so long.
I'm like, this game is not going to end before our show starts today.
I know, and it ended 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah, right when the show started. Yeah. It kind of was a perfect.
It was one of those things when they had their mic issue. It's like, oh no, don't worry about it. We'll fix it at the end at the bottom of the inning. We'll fix it, and then the ending never ended.
They just kept talking to Fernando, and it was like, dude,
have you mentioned, because I haven't been listening to your updates? Full disclosure,
thanks.
Again, Chuck Culpepper will join us at 4. Bryce Miller at 4:30. Matt Araiza has signed. The Chiefs have signed Matt Araiza, punt god at San Diego State, who was drafted. Played in one preseason game, had an 83-yard punt. I'd forgotten about that. Do you remember that, Jimmy? An 83-yard punt for the Bills in a preseason game.
The only reason I remember it is because someone retweeted it today.
Okay, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
But then, of course, there was the allegations.
Correct.
Which, as Jack Cronin just said during that news update you heard on San Diego Sports 760, were unfounded.
Mm-hmm. He wasn't even there.
There was never even a criminal case. He was then cleared civilly.
Yeah, they found that he was never even at the party.
And then, I mean, to the Chiefs' credit, because you just don't know how stories like this end, Jim. We've seen so many of these stories over the years. I mean, he's a punter. You don't know if you're going to get another opportunity. He's not the best quarterback in the National Football League. He's a punter.
Right.
To the Chiefs' credit, 2 years later, 2 years after getting drafted, Matt Araiza is back in the NFL competing for a job with the Super Bowl champions.
Though the Chiefs are one of the teams that could do this, and give me I don't know, like the Jets, right? Jets, New York.
It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. They don't have like the infrastructure to withstand like maybe a little bit of a media storm.
Okay.
The Chiefs just won their second Super Bowl.
Right.
Patrick Mahomes is the biggest star there. They have Andy Reid. They have leaders in place. It's that will not even be close to a story come training camp.
I agree.
And so yeah, I think if you look at like places to go for him, like landing spots, I think the Chiefs is it's kind of a perfect landing spot.
Who was punting? Did they even use a punter in the postseason? I mean, I know they did.
They used a punter a lot in the Super Bowl until
Tommy Townsend.
Well, he was a free agent. I think that.
Okay.
I think they didn't re-sign him. I don't
So
really know.
does that make him like the front runner for? I don't know enough about how punting works in the NFL. Like, is he going to vie for the job with 2 other punters, or is he going to have the job because he was
right now? I think
4th or 5th round pick?
I think he's the only punter on that roster.
There were some punts circulating today from his time at San Diego State on social media that you kind of had forgotten about because, it's been 2 years and who's talking about punts. Mm-hmm. But there was one punt against Hawaii where they had a punt returner 55 yards from the line of scrimmage and 75 yards from the line of scrimmage, 2 of them. Yeah. And it went over both of their heads through the end zone.
And it just shows that, the Chiefs are a well-run organization. They're not just going to do things out of the blue without doing research or their homework or investigate or anything like that. So to have the Chiefs of all teams sign Matt Araiza.
Maybe a Super Bowl favorite. I mean, how could you say they're not? They're right there as a Super Bowl favorite. Now he's on their and now he's on that team. I mean, you spend a couple of years there, you got a chance to win a Super Bowl.
And for him, I'm sure it's a situation where there was probably a point in the last couple of years where he's like, I'm never playing the NFL ever again.
Absolutely.
I'm never, ever going to even get a shot to play in the NFL.
Absolutely. All right, Chuck Culpepper will join us on the other side. We'll tell you about his brilliant article today on San Diego State basketball in the Washington Post. Bryce Miller, great columnist for the UT, will join us at 4:30. Talked to Bob Melvin yesterday in Scottsdale. Hour 2, Jon and Jim next.
All right, this update is brought to you by Wendy's. Padres Dodgers, first spring training game of Cactus League this season. Didn't go the Padres' way. They lost 14-1 to the Dodgers. Good news. They play again tomorrow, this time in Camelback Ranch in Glendale versus the Dodgers. Johnny Brito is expected to start for the Padres. Game time is at 12:05 p.m. Moving over to NFL news of the day. Former Aztec and Bills punter Matt Araiza signed a contract today with the Kansas City Chiefs. And tonight, Brian Dutcher Coaches Show with John and Coach Dutch starts at 6 p.m. right here on San Diego Sports 760. When you think Wendy's Biggie Bag, think go-to meal deal. Because with your choice of a junior bacon cheeseburger or crispy chicken sandwich, plus 4-piece nugs, junior fries, and a small soft drink, Biggie hits every time. So grab a Wendy's Biggie Bag today. U.S. price and participation may vary. Third-party delivery pricing may be higher.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? We're going to get back to the Padres Cactus League opener. Didn't necessarily go as envisioned, but there's a reason it's the Cactus League because it doesn't matter. Bryce Miller, by the way, columnist for the UT, will join us at 4:30. He talked to Bob Melvin yesterday in Scottsdale. He'll join us at 4:30. Now, Jim just mentioned Brian Dutcher shows at 6 p.m. right here on San Diego Sports 760, flagship for the Aztecs. When I came across this article today, I was thrilled. I mean, this is one of the great pieces, and there have been some really good pieces, especially last year during the tournament run on San Diego State. And locally, we know about this 25-year run of success under Steve Fisher and Brian Dutcher. But for whatever reason, it feels like it's never gotten its full national due until right now. Chuck Culpepper, Washington Post, wrote a brilliant piece on San Diego State's unbelievable success this century in men's basketball. The title in the Washington Post today: college basketball's quietest kingdom has everything except its due attention. Chuck, thank you for writing this. Thank you for joining us. How does this come across your radar to write a piece like this? And thank you.
Thank you for what you said, John, because I tell you, when you go into, and I do this all the time, where you go in for, say, a few days or a week to a place and people have been living it day in, day out, week in, week out, month in, month out for years. There's this huge fear about not capturing it properly somehow, and you can wake up in the night and say things like, wait a minute, Fisher's first name is Steve, isn't it right? A name I've known since 1989, stuff like that. But I just think I have long thought that, of course, the country tilts eastward sports-wise. I don't think there's any question about that. People argue it sometimes, but I grew up in the East, but I still see it. And so I just thought, I don't think there are many people, or as many people as there should be, who know what this whole atmosphere is at San Diego State. And now it's been very good for a very long time. And now you had that spring where it got, validated and it got, there was such a delight in that story, but I still didn't think I heard. Who knows how accurate it is, what we all hear with our own ears or read as we go about the days, but I just didn't think I'd heard or read enough about what it is. So that's why I pitched the story, and they said yes, which meant I got to go to San Diego, which was selfish of me, right?
Very selfish of you, but it is the place to be all the time, every single day of the year. Chuck, you mentioned East Coast bias, and that is a real thing. What is it going to take for a West Coast team like the Aztecs to really break through? And I know you talked about it in your article, but to break through for people on the East Coast to truly understand and know what is happening in their own sport just across the country?
I think it's startling how long it takes for something like that, and with the Aztecs, we're talking about now 19 seasons, 18 with 20 wins and the other one with 19 wins.
Yeah.
And, we're talking about Sweet 16s and then national title game. I think Gonzaga might be an example of a team that has a program that has broken through in that, and is built such an awareness on the East Coast and in the Central Time Zone as well, or the Big 12 is, most of it. And so I think maybe more deep runs in March is what does it. Because, you can remember for a while, the Zags were going out in the second rounds after that. They were that really good run in '99, but then, they were kind of going out early. And then in maybe the second or back part of the second decade of their excellence, they started turning up, later in the tournament, two championship Monday nights, 2 Final Fours with that. And I think that's what it would take.
Chuck Culpepper is with us right now. He writes for the Washington Post, brilliant sports writer. Again, the article today is headline, College Basketball's Quietest Kingdom Has Everything Except Its Due Attention, writing about San Diego State men's basketball. It's interesting, Chuck. I've been out here 7 years, and I've covered San Diego State basketball 7 of those years, and it's been like this remarkable run, Brian Dutcher's head coaching tenure. But I heard him once on the Jim Rome show, just listening when I got here a couple of years ago. And he said to Jim Rome, when I first got here with Coach Fisher, this was a wasteland for college basketball. Those were Brian Dutcher's words. They've stuck with me. They've been in my head since I heard them. Is there a comparison to a program that's been turned on its face the way Steve Fisher and Brian Dutcher have turned San Diego State from what it was, which was, as you wrote today, lowly? I mean, that you didn't write it. Someone else wrote that, I think, when Steve Fisher was hired, to what it is today. Like, is there a comp to San Diego State?
It makes me think of, off the top here, I think of Gonzaga a bit. I think of Kansas State football back a long time ago.
Sure.
It's a sort of a different setting because you're in a conference at the time with Oklahoma and Texas and Nebraska, right? And so Oklahoma and Nebraska, and you're not Texas, but you're so downtrodden, and Bill Snyder kind of rose that up from nothing. And I think a couple of things make it different, and that is, I think it's rare to have it done in a major city. And then you have this major city where I think parts of the article are about this, but where people said it couldn't be done because A, there's too many things to do there, hard to get attention, and B, it's so nice there. Why would you go indoors to a basketball game? That kind of thing, and so I think that might make that part of it. I could just sort of think through all these, this history, these different places, but UCF football comes to mind a bit. But that factor of a metropolis or a huge city and the beach and all of that, and what Al McGuire called the Bell in that story that Ted Leitner shared with me. Oh gosh, I talked to him for a few hours. One of the great experiences of my whole career. But I think that part of it, the San Diego part of it itself, makes this just maybe one of a kind.
You mentioned, for a team to really break through that East Coast bias, like another run in the tournament, like consistency and like a Sweet 16 type of thing, and maybe even another run to a Final Four. With what the Aztecs did last year, what they've accomplished, it hasn't even been a full calendar year yet. But do you feel like with that run they had last season, the shot from Lamont Butler, that will be one of the most iconic shots ever remembered in a Final Four, how much weight does that alone carry for a team, even if they never go back to a Final Four, but they're in the tournament and they might make a Sweet 16 run, whatever the case may be. But if that is truly the farthest that they're going to go, how much weight does that carry for a team like San Diego State, you think?
It certainly has its weight. It certainly has its weight for good. It will be referred to always. I think it needs more. If Gonzaga is any indication, it needs, and say, for example, going way back, UCLA, on the East Coast, we all knew loud and clear what UCLA was in the 1960s, 1970s, and still, that kind of lingering image. But I think for it to be something like that, where it's going to get the attention that it deserves again, because it's unacceptably slow for these things to come about. I think it will, it will have to be matched with something not necessarily similar, but something close to it. And I think one thing that might work in its favor is I really do think that even though players change and then over a 4-year period change almost entirely, and players change more than ever now, as we know.
Yeah.
I think there's something in a run like that that makes future runs more somewhat more likely.
Chuck Culpepper, Washington Post, great article. Aztec fans absolutely need to check it out. San Diegans do as well in the Washington Post here today and, of course, online. A bit similar topic, but a little bit off topic, Chuck, is just about like San Diego as a sports city. Because, you know, when the Cubs didn't win, it's the cursed Cubs. And, you know, the Indians, Guardians don't win or the Browns don't win. All you do is hear about it. San Diego doesn't win. You know, I mean, the Padres haven't won. Chargers didn't win a Super Bowl, left. Rockets, Clippers didn't win, they left. San Diego State basketball, you know, has gotten pretty close to winning, but again, lost last year in the national championship game. Why is it when other cities don't win, it's a national story, they're cursed? Is it because San Diego, it's hard to feel bad for San Diegans because it's 70 degrees on February 22nd? Or why is it that all other cities can be cursed nationally, but in San Diego, it's almost like nobody knows about it except San Diegans?
What the answer when you went across that part about February is yes. That's what it is. That's this has been really in my head lately because in November on Thanksgiving morning I was in Michigan in advance of the Michigan-Ohio State game, and I went to talk to Lions fans in Detroit, in downtown Detroit, who were headed to that game, and so the subject there was why haven't they been, you know, the topic of a curse like the Cubs were, like the Red Sox were for a long time. And one of the, you know, there were several reasons there. Obviously the climate it differs from San Diego's there, but one of the things is the Chargers, when they were there, got to one Super Bowl, okay, and they were against one of the great teams of the first 40 years of the NFL, whatever, you know, of the Super Bowl, whatever you would say, and it was not close. And you know, the first pass went to Jerry Rice, and we all sat there and think, okay, this is done. And it's just a bit of a mismatch. I think with the Cubs, Red Sox, Indians, or Guardians, what you're seeing is that idea of having gotten really achingly close and not being able to get it. And the Padres played possibly the two greatest teams of like the last 30 years of the 20th century. The Tigers in '84, who start off 35-5, and then the Yankees of '98. So I think that's it. In addition to that temperature you named in February in San Diego,
no doubt. Chuck, appreciate you hopping on in San Diego. I mean, for our listeners, if you haven't checked out Chuck Culpepper's work, it is amazing. Your lead, by the way, because we cover a lot of Pac-12 with the demise, and we were thinking San Diego State maybe gets in, but then there is no real Pac-12. But that article you wrote in December, Goodbye Pac-12 Football, You Beautiful League of Our Dreams, is like the great sports lead that I've ever read. I mean, it is one of the great articles that has been written. And I don't know if you've been told that before. I'm sure you probably have. But again, keep doing what you're doing because your work is spectacular. So thank you for doing it.
Thank you so much for all of that. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Chuck Culpepper, again, Washington Post with us here. Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. This guy can flat out write. Like, I mean, this is an amazing piece, and it's one of a series of amazing pieces.
It's just nice to have somebody with that platform, the Washington Post, on the East Coast, dive deep into something that people, you know, here in San Diego wish that someone back east would do.
Yeah, exactly. We always talk about it, don't we? The East Coast bias. Why is no one paying attention? You always feel like you need to puff your chest out.
Yeah.
And like scream from the rafters about maybe it's the Padres, maybe it's San Diego State. Like, you know, it's like, why do the Dodgers get the attention? The Padres are trying to do it. Why does UCLA get the attention? The Aztecs are doing it, right? Like there's that feeling.
Yeah, I feel like on the West Coast, and NFL doesn't count because NFL is just too big, doesn't matter.
Different animal.
Yep. The only teams that actually cut through, I would say, are the Dodgers, the Lakers, and the Warriors.
That's interesting. I mean, the Giants with the titles.
I don't think so.
Okay.
They don't have any stars.
Yeah.
They don't have any. They don't have like a. I know they have the titles, but even when they did have the titles, it wasn't like a.
And you said NFL doesn't count.
Yeah.
Right. So you're saying that the MLB, NBA, NHL, whatever else you want to say, teams.
Yeah. The only teams that I feel like on the West Coast.
They've really cut through.
And I would say USC.
Yeah, USC football. I mean, Brett makes a good point. Gonzaga basketball really is discussed a lot within the sport.
They're as Chuck mentioned, you gotta have multiple runs. Like, and for whatever reason, their run with Andrew Morrison. Is that his name?
Not Andrew.
No.
What is his first name?
I'm blanking. It's more.
The hair?
Yeah, I know what it is. I'm waiting to see if you don't have to Google it. I don't know what it is.
I forget. Don't tell me. It's something. Adam
Morrison.
Morrison.
Andrew, I knew it was an A.
Yeah.
Adam Morrison. Though that Gonzaga team was the first team that like cut through.
They used to be the Cinderella, and then they went to the opposite side of the coin, right?
Right. Yeah. So, but I would say of all the teams, Gonzaga, you could put, I think, if you're saying a team that cuts through on the East Coast, they're last to me. It's Dodgers, Lakers, Warriors.
You can't compare.
And USC. Like those are the four teams on the West Coast that and on the time in our time zone, like Central, like those are the only teams that I see really making a talking points on the East Coast.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. Yeah, I think that's pretty well said. Like the bias is real. And the truth is, people are only up so many hours. The people in New York City aren't watching Padres baseball. They're not watching Aztecs basketball. They're not. They're not awake by and large. There's not this there's not this attention on it. And by the way, most the biggest publications in this country, there's some out west, but the Times and the Washington Post and these news shows, they all originate from the East. Like most people live in the East. 40% of Americans live in the East Coast time zone. I want to say so. It's harder. It's just harder to break through in the West. And that's the point he was trying to make, by the way. That's what I love about this. He's writing about East Coast bias
from the East Coast
in a publication that gets, that has attention on it for being East Coast bias, the Washington Post. And he's bringing it to the attention of his readers. And that's what I found so fascinating. And that's why I wanted to have him on the show. What are you laughing at?
The chat hated me for bringing up on YouTube for bringing up the Warriors.
One person
said Warriors stink. They'll be back to franchise irrelevancy in a year. Okay.
The truth is, for a decade plus, they've been super relevant. They've done it because they've been dominant.
And they have Steph Curry.
And they have a player that did, however you feel about it, change the way the sports played.
And that's the thing about East Coast bias too. You need to have a player that cuts through that.
Yep.
Shohei Ohtani was talked about. Shohei Ohtani was way bigger than the Angels.
Way bigger.
But he was still talked about all the time.
Yeah.
Just no one cared about the Angels.
Right.
And because they never won. If they won, it'd be a different story. If they won consistently, made the postseason and, had a World Series run, then that team, it would have been talked about way more, not just Shohei Ohtani.
Right.
But Shohei Ohtani was the only person that was being talked about on that team. Angels, who cares? I don't care what the team does. What is Shohei doing? You need stars to break through. And you need those stars that are like not just big time stars in your own city. I know you're probably thinking like, what about Manny Machado and Fernando Tatis Jr.? I don't think they break through like, and Fernando was close until he got suspended and was hurt, but you don't have that like breakthrough, like I just don't see it yet.
Well, I think there was a moment in time where the Padres got close.
That's what I mean.
With their star power.
Fernando Tatis Jr. was very close.
There was like a 3-series stretch to begin time of the year 2021 against the Dodgers where they were super competitive games. There were the Sunday Night Baseball moments.
And they were like beating
they were like 6-3 in the first 9 games, but then they were like 0-9 or 1-8 in the last 9. So there have been like moments where the Padres have been like knocking at the door, and then all of a sudden they don't break through. And then, of course, there was the 2022 postseason where they do beat the Dodgers. But it is hard. I mean, Chuck makes a good point. It's hard to do it. I mean, if you're the Padres, like the only way to do it is like you got to, not only do you have to win a World Series, like you got to win like more than once. Like you got to win a World Series, then you got to do it again. If you're the Aztecs, you got to get to a Final Four, and then you got to do it again.
And it sucks because it's almost like you have to win a different type of way. You have to win with like style. You have to win with like, flashiness almost to be seen. Like, oh, cool, they won the World Series, but whatever.
Right.
Like you have to win the World Series in like a
sweep,
flashy way. Not even a sweep. Maybe like you had like an epic Game 7 win or something like that, where Fernando Tatis Jr. had a game-winning home run in Game 7 of the World Series. Like it took Lamont Butler to hit that shot for And I'm not saying the Aztecs wouldn't be the same way now if they ended up losing that game, but that shot definitely helped them for sure. Not only with getting to a national championship, but with just the way it all happened. Like one of the most iconic shots in Final Four history, the only shot by trailing to win a game.
Yeah. Incredible.
You have to do it. It just sucks because the uphill battle is steeper for teams like San Diego State and the Padres to break through on the national scene.
But do you agree with this? And we'll have Bryce Miller from the UT join us in about 8 or 9 minutes and about his Melvin article about Padres spring training. Do you like the line of questioning I was going with, this idea that like other franchises and cities are cursed and everyone knows about it, yet for whatever reason, maybe people know about San Diego or maybe they just don't care. It's like for whatever reason, San Diego gets this like, well, you're in San Diego. Yeah, sure, the Padres don't win, but you're in San Diego. Sure, the Chargers left, but you're in San Diego. It doesn't happen with Detroit. It doesn't happen with the Indians. It didn't happen with the Cubs.
I think a lot of that is if you like look at like the Cubs or like a Cleveland situation, it's snowy and like crappy all the time. So they always throw in the fact that, this is all they have because if it wasn't for this, it'd just be another miserable winter or whatever. And then, from the outside view, it never rains here. It's 75 every day. And, which, it is most of the time. I'm not going to act like it's, bad weather here, but.
Chuck made a good point too, that, since 1984, when the Padres made the World Series that year, every team that has made a championship game in this town
has run into a dominant team,
has run into like an historically dominant team.
Yeah, it's a really good point because he's right. The 84 Tigers were absurd. 98 Yankees were absurd. Niners in the Super Bowl against 95. The Chargers were absurd.
Yeah. And then UConn last year, they won't beat anyone every game by 10 plus points.
That's a great point.
They were not a historical team in the regular season, but in the postseason, March Madness,
one of the best runs ever.
And they had NBA players everywhere.
All right.
Isn't that how you become immortalized though? Is
by beating those teams? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they haven't done it yet. So I'd much rather have them win a championship versus like a not a historical team than have to beat a historical team.
Like the Padres in 2022 gets the World Series against like the 7th seed in the American League that won 82 and 80, but you win the World Series, whatever. You won the World Series.
Do not care.
Even if the team went 82 and 80. All right, Bryce Miller will join us on the other side. By the way, Chuck Culpepper in this article wrote, San Diego, a city seen as too beautiful for urgency, which kind of speaks to the point we're talking about here with sports. Bryce Miller talked to Bob Melvin in Scottsdale. He'll join us on the other side to react to that conversation, plus the start of Padres spring training next. All right, Bryce Miller has just written a column on today's Cactus League game between the Padres and the Dodgers. Plus, he caught up with Bob Melvin, now Giants manager in Scottsdale yesterday. Bryce Miller joins us next.
All right, this update is brought to you by Toyota of Poway in the heart of San Diego. Padres Dodgers, first Cactus League spring training game of the year. Didn't go the Padres' way. They lost 14-1 to the Dodgers. Good news. They play tomorrow. So hopefully they can get a win, and probably a must-win game for the Padres. Moving over to NFL news of the day. Matt Araiza, he has signed a one-year deal with the Kansas City Chiefs. And tonight at 6 p.m., right here on San Diego Sports 760 is the Brian Dutcher Coaches Show with John and Coach Dutcher. Don't miss the President's Day sales event all month at Toyota Poway with over 200 new and pre-owned Toyotas in stock. They'll help you find the Toyota of your dreams. Plus, with special finance rates, there's never been a better time to get a new Toyota. Visit them now or at toyotapoway.com.
Spring training yesterday in Scottsdale, today in Peoria, where the Padres, as we've been discussing, lost the Dodgers 14-1. I see the column he posted here this afternoon. Ouch. Dodgers rough up Padres in spring training opener. Now, Bryce, first of all, we always appreciate you taking time. We all get it. It's a spring training opener. But does it kind of illustrate the point, or I don't know, add fuel to the point that it's an unfinished roster? Not that 14-1 today matters, but it does matter that we don't know who's in left or center or DHing or the back of the rotation. It goes on and on and on. And thanks for hopping on.
Yeah, anytime. It's one of those. I kind of played around with a little bit. Obviously, the first game of the spring is not the end of the world, but you don't want, give up an 8-run inning in the first when you might have your opening day starter on the mound, where you had 2 ground rule doubles, a home run. I think there were 8 runs scored before there was 2 outs. They gave up another 6-run inning. So it's one of those you'd just like to see a little more fight, a few more highlights. You're right. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter, but this team's got a lot of questions, and I don't know that we learned a lot today other than Yuki Matsui looked fantastic, and Jackson Merrill looked reasonably comfortable and made a really terrific play on Mookie Betts in left field where he hasn't really played that much. So if you're hunting your silver linings as a Padres fan, I guess those are it.
Yeah, and it's the first spring training game. We've said it multiple times. It doesn't really matter much at all. But I think just seeing what we have looked at on paper all offseason with our own two eyes today, just the depth of this team is not there. The bottom half of their lineup, even if Manny was in the lineup today, just the bottom half of that lineup does not look formidable at all. Are they in a situation here, Bryce, where, I mean, if Preller doesn't make a move, like this team could be in some trouble? And is this going to force him truly that he has to go out and try to fill these holes any way he possibly can?
Well, I mean, there's no doubt they've got holes to fill. I mean, I don't think you want the bulk of this season to be, Azakar in center and potentially Merrill on left. And maybe Jackson Merrill is just so athletic and talented that he can make a really huge jump and make a position change. But doing that at the major league level in games that count, that's a big ask. But, they don't have once Manny Machado is back to playing third base, they won't have an obvious DH. It's not clear who's the number 4 starter, the number 5 starter. How are they going to get at least another left-handed bat in the lineup? You're right. There's a ton of questions. I don't think today matters in the grand scheme of things, really. But you'd like to see some things that say, oh, this is how they're going to play without Juan Soto and without Blake Snell and without Josh Hader and without Trent Grisham's glove in center. It's more like, what does some of that begin to look like as the spring marches along? And I think that's a slower process. And Mike Schilt, you got to give him more than one day in spring training to understand how. I know, right? I know that's a huge hot take, but you got to give him more than one day to see how he's going to manage a team, how he's going to build chemistry and cohesion and all those things. But there's no doubt the Padres have a ton of holes. And if you're concerned about that, you've got a right to be.
Yeah. And the one caveat, like to your point, Bryce, I mean, it's February 22nd, and normally that means like you're nowhere near anything. But they do actually leave for Korea March 13th. Like it's not far off. Again, can they make moves? Can they make improvements? All kinds of things can occur from February 22nd to March 13th. And not like everything has to be dealt with by March 20th, but it does feel as if the clock is ticking. So you wrote yesterday in Scottsdale about a conversation you had with Bob Melvin. How do you characterize in your conversation with Melvin how he feels about how it ended in San Diego and about, I guess, his 2-year tenure, but specifically the 2023 disappointment?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to set the table. I would have assumed people would understand this without, being so overt and saying it out loud. But he didn't text me or call me up and said, come over, I want to clear the air. I just stopped over in Scottsdale, and he was nice enough and open enough and honest enough to not only try to add a lot more detail about how things ended, because there was a lot of confusion. There was a period where AJ Preller and Melvin were both publicly saying, here we go, we're going to figure this out and go into year 3. And a couple weeks later, he was gone. He was with the Giants. So what changed? Some of those basic things. But at the same time, I think you saw in 2 or 3 ways, accountability from Bob Melvin. This wasn't just him banging the anger, frustration drum about, AJ Preller and how it ended with the Padres. I thought one of the most interesting things in the piece, but, it'll be up to others to decide what they thought might be interesting. But you could really feel for the first time, I think, the internal conflict with him about when they weren't winning last year against the backdrop of a historic season in so many ways the year before, when to push this button, when to blow, not blow things up, but when to make major changes, when to start, tinkering. It was clear he was torn between we need to do something, but I've also got to trust in what we did with the same systems in place just 1 year earlier. So just for him to be open about kind of that struggle as the manager, I thought was interesting.
Yeah, you could do a 30 for 30 on last year's team for sure. It does take 2 to tango, and it wasn't just Bob Melvin that played a factor in last year. It was AJ Preller as well. And were you present for the Eric Katsenda little mini press conference in Peoria?
I wasn't. I got here a few days after it, unfortunately.
Did you listen to it? Did you hear him talk about AJ Preller? Just wanted to make sure you have.
Yeah, I certainly did. I read accounts of it, and obviously the thing you didn't hear from Peter Seidler that was something that you took notice of with him is that he talked about accountability. It wasn't a blanket guarantee that we're going to ride with AJ Preller, forever. He said everybody's accountable, and I think a lot of people noticed that difference.
And it feels like for the first time in a long time that this truly is kind of like a little bit of a hot seat that Preller's on if this team doesn't, perform well and do better than last year and potentially make a wild card spot, right?
Yeah, I mean more than before. I
Yeah.
don't think there's any doubt. The thing, if you're a Padres fan and you want to find a reason to think that some of this might be good news, is it probably incentivizes AJ Preller to more than before to perform right now, as he's thinking about between now and March, or at least early March. What can you do? By our estimation, the standard, the competitive balance tax, maybe they have, I don't know, $20 million to play with. But they've got to think about trade deadline options, as they consider that amount of money. But they've also got to think about trades now that might help them in one spot, potentially free up some money in another. I think he's incentivized to do things that what we saw today, the portion of the roster and the names on the 40-man roster, I think it will feel different or look different if, because of one major move or potentially a couple of moves. But yeah, he's got to feel now that there's some pressure, maybe for the first time in a bigger way to try to find a way to win.
It's amazing. It's like it means nothing, but it kind of means something because you haven't seen them in 5 months, and you're thinking, oh, maybe it'll be different. It wasn't a great season. They went 82-80. And it's spring training. I know. They're at home. They have the starters in their lineup. Is there the home? No, but again, it's one game. But tomorrow is a must-win game. We all agree.
Oh, absolutely.
Bryce,
they're all must-win.
They're all must-win. If you're going to win the Cactus League,
Bryce,
it's
getting late early.
Enjoy your work. Seriously, for our listeners, for our viewers on YouTube, check out Bryce Miller today on Padres Dodgers, yesterday on Bob Melvin's tenure as the Padres manager, now with the Giants. Bryce, we appreciate it. Be well. We'll catch up soon.
Thanks, Bryce.
Thanks, guys.
All right, Bryce Miller, columnist, outstanding columnist for the UT. All right, we're going to react to it all throughout the course of the next hour 20 or so. On the other side, we've got a free pair of tickets to give away to the Shamrock St. Patty's Day Music and Beer Festival, Gaslamp District, March 16th. Call right now if you want those tickets. First two callers will be our contestants for trivia, Trainwreck Radio. So call right now. First two callers will be our contestants, 877-767-4760. That's our number, 877-767-4760. Two free tickets. Great giveaway. Shamrock St. Patty's Day Music and Beer Festival. Most people like music. Most people like beer. This is going to pair those two things together.
Wow.
And it's March 16th. It's downtown San Diego.
Can't get better than that.
877-767-4760 plus further reaction, fallout from a Cactus League blowout in Peoria. Stay with us on Jon and Jim. All right, guess where I was earlier today for lunch? I'll give you one guess. I was at Windmill Farms, Jim. He was going to guess it, but he's drinking water after having a kidney stone. I was over at Windmill Farms earlier today, picked up lunch from their deli. By the way, my next sandwich is free because your 8th sandwich is free with a sandwich card. Look at this, Jim. Next sandwich is free over at Windmill Farms.
He's telling the truth.
I'm showing you the card.
Yeah, it's proof.
So it's great. It's affordable. It's easy. It's quick. It's healthy. It's delicious. They've got a huge menu. It's the perfect lunch spot. It's as simple as that. I see people over there all the time, by the way. So it's a great lunch spot. Windmill Farms, the college area's natural grocer. In addition to that, get all your grocery shopping done over at Windmill Farms. Whatever you need, they have, with so many healthy, affordable options, including organic farm fresh produce and meats, amazing craft beer. I picked up some Nova Kombucha over there actually earlier today. They've got the full deli with the award-winning sandwiches we've told you about. They're centrally located right by Montezuma Mesa. Family-owned. Trevor and his family serving San Diegans for 20-plus years, supporting local businesses. You don't have to live or work near the college area, by the way, because you can find them on Instacart. And there's nothing easier than having your groceries delivered on Instacart directly to your home. If you're looking for weekly specials, they have them for you on Instagram or at windmillfarmsmarket.com. Again, windmillfarmsmarket.com. But whether it's your work week or your grocery needs, or your game day needs, or your tailgating needs, shop local, shop at Windmill Farms.
Like,
All right.
This is a real thing.
I'm not kidding. Like, there's a full long article
That's long is
at
right.
ESPN.com. Basically, what has happened here is when Major League Baseball changes uniforms, we've talked about the uniforms are a disaster, like the jerseys.
Yeah, they're trash.
Same thing. The pants are essentially transparent.
They're see-through unless you have dark pants. Like unless you have.
Yeah, but if you're like maybe you're the home team.
If you wear white pants, you're kind of screwed.
Yeah, so like it's a big problem. And like just go on social media and you'll find out that it's a problem.
Yeah, there's a picture out there right now of former Aztec Casey Schmidt of the San Francisco Giants. Not flattering. You can see it all.
But there's other, and that's not even the only example.
And today, I know you saw it during the Padres game. I believe it was Andrew Bogarts. I don't know who exactly it was because I didn't see the number of the face. But this player's bending over.
And again, these pants are like see-through.
See it all. Like literally you see it all.
So here's the serious question. Here's the serious question. What on earth were they thinking?
Let me answer that for you. It's baseball.
Yeah, but come on.
Nike fanatics, whoever's making these jerseys. But I like the Nike. I liked when Nike took over for like the NFL
brand,
and I mean NBA at some point. But they're making some of the weirdest jerseys.
Mm-hmm.
Like, can we just, I don't know, keep it simple, stupid?
But like, come on, if you're baseball and you get to spring training and this is an issue, then you have to revert to what you were using previously for uniforms. Your uniforms were fine in 2023. You're telling me you can't revert?
I bet if enough players come out and say like this is BS,
of course
they're going to change it. Because, dude, you can see the jersey tucked into the pants.
Right.
Like all of these players' photo days are coming out now. And you see like the transparency from the pants and you see the jersey tucked in and you see like they're wearing their boxers or they're like, whatever slider pants underneath it. It's a disaster. And baseball just continues to just trip over themselves at every single turn. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Read the article at ESPN.com. I mean, this is a true PR nightmare is what it is.
Dude, it's crazy
for Major League Baseball. All right, at 5 p.m. back to the Cactus League opener for the Padres and the Dodgers. Can it be fixed? I'm kidding. All right, right now let's play.
You? All right, 3 questions, 2 contestants, 1 lifeline. Today's 2 contestants, we have Tony and Robert. Tony, you called in first, so you have your choice of Jon or Jim. Who do you want to go with?
I'll go with Jon.
All right, Tony and Jon.
I don't think anyone's picked me first. Like,
it's been a while.
A long time.
A very long time. Come on.
Robert, you're up. You have me, okay?
Jim, right?
Jim, yes.
Is that your name?
That's my name. Yeah, your partner is Jim, Robert. Tony.
No, wait. Jim Harbaugh or John Harbaugh? Yeah, I'll take
too soon, I think.
Not heard that yet.
Wow.
Sorry.
That's okay. All right, so Tony gets...
Do I lose already? Sorry.
You're about to.
Everyone relax.
Yeah, calm down. Tony, you get Jon. Robert, you get me, okay?
Sounds good.
And everyone turn the radio down.
Yes, please.
Or leave the moon.
Okay. Brent, what is the question of the day?
All right. The NBA gets back underway tonight. You can actually hear the Lakers and the Warriors after the Brian Dutcher coaches show tonight at 7.
Oh, okay. Put that in my update.
Yep, you can add it to that.
Home of the Lakers in San Diego.
And Warriors.
Today's question. We're just past the halfway point. Who are the 7 teams in the NBA with the worst records in the league? We don't want the good teams today.
We want the crappy teams.
We want the 7 teams with the worst record in the NBA this season.
All right. So just name a really, really bad NBA team. Robert, you're up first. Yeah. What is your first guess? You do have a lifeline if you want to use it.
Let's start with a lifeline.
Okay. The Washington Wizards. Do you take that?
Yes.
All right. On the list.
I think they're the Bullets.
They're not the Bullets.
Oh, they switched. Yeah.
Long time. What?
Yeah, it's not 1995 anymore, Jon.
Jeez. Tony, you're up next. What is your first guess? You do have a lifeline if you want to use it.
I'm going to go with the Detroit Pistons.
Detroit Pistons on the list. They suck.
No.
No, they're awesome. The bad boys? What are you talking about? They're awesome.
Robert, you're going to confuse people. Stop it. Robert, you're up next. Name a bad NBA team because you don't have a lifeline. What do you got?
Hornets, Charlotte.
The Charlotte Hornets.
What are you talking about? Larry Johnson? Grandma Ma?
I'm going to throat check you. Tony, you're up next. What is your second guess? You do have a lifeline if you want to use it.
I'm going to go with the Brooklyn Nets.
Brooklyn Nets. Are they?
I think they're in Jersey.
Ooh.
Not on the
They're
list.
not
Jason
as-
Kidd is good.
Derek Coleman?
Yeah, it seems stacked.
Robert, you could win it walking off here with a correct answer. What is your final guess?
I know the Spurs aren't doing as good as everybody thought they were. So San Antonio?
San Antonio Spurs on the
They've won
list.
5 titles this decade.
Shut up.
Okay, I don't know why I was doing that.
You were going to you were just
so
going to confuse
It was
people.
so annoying.
You're like, what? And then they're going to think they actually got it right when they got it
Manu and
wrong.
Duncan?
We're going to get people yelling at Brent
I
again.
know. All right, who's on this list? Mid-90s bad teams.
All right, Detroit's the worst. They're only 8-46. Then it's the Wizards, then 9-45. Then the Spurs, the Hornets. Portland is next. Then Toronto, and the 7th worst team. Or then it's Memphis.
Oh, the Grizz.
Memphis
The
Grizzlies.
Grizz.
Brooklyn was close. He was off by 1.
All right, congratulations. Was it Robert? You've
Yes.
won a pair of tickets to the Shamrock St. Patty's Day Music and Beer Festival, March 16th. Tradition returns as an authentic Irish celebration takes over the streets of San Diego's historic Gaslamp Quarter. Heading back to its roots, the 28th annual Shamrock provides a full lineup of the nation's top Irish and Celtic rock bands, iconic tribute performances, and Irish dancers galore. Tickets and info at sandiegoshamrock.com. That's sandiegoshamrock.com. What are you laughing at?
Nothing.
On the other side, it must be addressed. What happened today in Peoria? Okay,
Who's to blame? Who's getting fired?
Right, not to overreact, but can you recover from this? Dodgers beat the Padres 14-1 in the Cactus League opener.
Run differential is just doomed.
Are we going to hear from anyone on the other side in a Padres uniform? Probably not.
Probably not.
All right, that's on the other side.
I don't know if you're really talking to anybody after a 14-1 loss in Cactus League.
Fair, but we also need to get to the wrap. We also have an update on the brand new EA Sports college football video game we need to share with
Which
you.
is very important.
Plus, Jim's back page. Spoiler alert, pandas. Stay with us on Jon and Jim.
Oh, yeah. All right, this update is brought to you by Toyota of Poway in the heart of San Diego. Padres, I'm not going to, they got blown out today by the Dodgers, 14-1 in their first spring training Cactus League game. Good news is there's another game tomorrow to avenge their loss today versus the Dodgers. 12:05 first pitch. Johnny Brito on the mound for the Padres. Moving over to NFL news of the day, former Aztec and Bills punter Matt Araiza signed a one-year deal today with the Kansas City Chiefs. We have Lakers basketball tonight at 7 p.m. That's following the Brian Dutcher Coaches Show that starts at 6 p.m. with John and Coach Dutch right here on San Diego Sports 760. Don't miss the President's Day sales event all month at Toyota of Poway with over 200 new and pre-owned Toyotas in stock. They'll help you find the Toyota of your dreams. Plus, with special finance rates, there's never been a better time to get a new Toyota. Visit them now or at toyotaofpoway.com.
San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? This is the final hour of Jon and Jim. We're reacting, you could argue overreacting. I said on Twitter or X, we're not going to overreact. We're not going to overreact. We're not going to overreact. We are.
Yes, we are. Yeah.
It was the Cactus League opener. We had waited about 20 weeks, 5 months from the end of last year to today, thinking it's going to be different this time.
And it felt longer, too, because September kind of was just like a wash, even though they won a bunch of games, but it didn't matter.
True. It feels like it's been forever. So it's been, a half year or 5 months or whatever. And you think it's going to be different. Joe Musgrove's healthy. And, yeah, it doesn't matter, but get off on the right foot. And Major League games are just weeks away in Korea, March 20th. And in the top of the first inning, with one out, it is 8-0. And some dude named Padlo or had homered, and they had used 3 pitchers to get out of the. I mean, it's an anything that can go wrong will go wrong. Murphy's Law, half inning. It's like, welcome back. Baseball is here.
Ethan Salas gets rung up on a pitch clock violation.
Yeah, in a 14-1 game.
Yeah. Yeah.
They used 12 pitchers. Joe Musgrove didn't record an out. The microphone wasn't working when they mic'd up Fernando Tatis Jr.
In the YouTube,
but other than that,
in the YouTube chat right now, if you haven't already, go subscribe and watch us on YouTube if you want, or the iHeartRadio app, Jon and Jim 760 on YouTube. This comment in the chat absolutely floored me. And it's a typical Dodger fan infiltrating a Padres, stream it or sort of say, just to say things about how great the Dodgers are. But this absolutely killed me. I know it's spring training, but y'all got them cheeks clapped.
Welcome to YouTube.
Oh my god.
By the way, then the comment below it says, there go the Dodgers spending their bullets early on, but won't have any ammo late in the year when needed the most. Like, we've got the full gamut of reaction.
And then Andrew Bison says season over already.
What's your overreaction today, Padres fans? 877-767-4760. 877-4760. All actuality, we've said this earlier, and I'm going to say it again. It's not about today. It's about the days leading up to today. Trading Juan Soto, not bringing back Josh Hader, losing Blake Snell, presumably, and then not addressing your needs coming off an 82-80 year when teams around you have gotten better. Like, you're trying to compete with teams. Again, it's not solely the Dodgers. It's other teams in the National League. And it's like, you haven't addressed some of your needs. Doesn't have to do with 14-1 or losing 14-1 today, but you haven't addressed some of your needs, and the season's coming, and that's a concern.
What if they lose tomorrow, like 12-0?
I'll say at least it's not the Korea series.
Use all those runs early, Dodgers,
right? And then beat them. What if they then beat them in Korea like 2-0, 1-0?
You know who FB Santangelo is?
Yeah, of course.
He had a funny tweet that said the Dodgers won 14-1 today, but they're deferring 12 of those runs to opening day's Korea series.
But
I love it.
That was good.
Can they do it in October?
Well, that's all that matters for the Dodgers. But yes, today, grand scheme of things, whatever. Who cares?
Right.
But what stood out to me the most from the opener of Cactus League was, like you said, the lack of moves in the offseason to improve this roster, and then seeing it with your own two eyes. Like looking at it on paper, it wasn't pretty. You're like, oh man, they got a lot of holes. And then you get excited, like, oh, baseball's back. It doesn't matter if they would have won or lost today. But seeing it on paper and seeing the back end of this lineup, and truly, I know Jackson Merrill is top prospect, but seeing the giant holes they have in center field, in left field, at first base, at DH, on your bench.
At first base, did you miss the
Hey, look,
mammoth homer?
I need to see a lot from Jake Cronenworth to consider him, like an actual first baseman. And what I mean by a lot, I need offensively. Had a home run today. That's nice, but still, his last.
So
2
are we
years have
really
been bad.
okay? Here's my question, and because I'm asking this question, are we really even reacting to this or not? Because I think you and I agree, we're not really reacting to what happened on field.
Yeah,
but we're reacting to what happened this offseason.
More so.
Which,
yes.
like, what's a truer statement? The Dodgers had the best offseason in baseball, or the Padres had the worst? I'd say Dodgers had the best is more true than the Padres had the worst. But my point, which is the Padres didn't have a good offseason.
Dude, I was at one point was spinning that you could make an argument that this was one of the worst off seasons in Padres history.
I know. Well, you had the ownership, obviously.
And that's
unfortunate situation.
The most unfortunate thing possible, and those things are never going to.
What else? Soto trade. I mean, you're trading a 25-year-old in his prime that's going to end up in the Hall of Fame.
You lost the Cy Young Award winner.
You lost, right?
You lost the best closer in baseball.
Now, again, I think some of the moves were good with the bullpen. Probably, we'll see. There's a chance for them to be successful, but other than that, it's like this reminds me of
14-game winner.
It reminds me of going into a test and like having not fully prepared for like the test. Like it's incomplete. Like it's an incomplete grade right now, and that's okay because it's February 22nd. Mm-hmm. But
things
aren't going to be complete.
But things are accelerated this spring training,
definitely,
because they leave for Korea in less than a month.
Yeah,
the 13th. How many days is that?
We have a leap year. They have an extra
19 days.
No, that's maybe kind of right.
Yeah, 19 days.
19, 20 days.
19, 20 days.
Yep.
Still, pretty much like 3 weeks. They'll be in Korea.
Right.
And they still have a lot of holes. So I'm just wondering, and we've said it a lot, and we've heard, Kevin Acey, who covers his team for a living,
who will join us tomorrow.
Dennis Lynn, Bryce Miller, who we just had on, like AJ. People that cover this team are like, they're gonna make a move. Like they can't not afford to make a move. When's it coming?
I can't answer that.
Doesn't it? And by just me saying that, I feel like it was. Remember last year, we're like, oh, it's coming. This run, they're going to get hot. They're going to get hot. And it never happened. I'm afraid that they are just going to settle, and they're going to not make the necessary moves that are going to help this team win this year, or at least to fill those holes.
I hope not. I mean, what I heard from Eric Katsenda was, hey, everyone's accountable for the success of this team. So, like, if you're not going to do the assignment and if you get a C grade, it's not going to be good enough. If they go 82-80 again and miss out on the postseason, it's not going to be good enough. Now, listen, they've won off seasons. ESPN had a really good graphic late in this game when it was 14-1. The last 5 years, the team that spent the most in the offseason, 4 of those teams didn't even make the postseason. That's wild. 4 of the last 5 years, that team didn't make the postseason. The other year, they didn't even make the World Series. I'm not sure if they made it out of the first round or not. So there's no straight line. Yeah. Now, Kevin Brown, who we had on yesterday and was broadcasting this game, made an interesting point as well. He said, well, yeah, the Dodgers spent the most money, and it would take like a catastrophe of like expected proportion to keep them out of the postseason. I agree. Yeah. They won 100 games a year ago, but that doesn't mean they're going to stumble into a World Series title in 2024. But you spin it back to the Padres. Okay, Dodgers spent doesn't guarantee they win a World Series, but by the Padres not spending, does it guarantee that they're better off than they were a year ago? How is that even possible? I mean, it's possible they're going to be better off, but how can you be overly confident in their off-season decisions that they've put themselves in a better spot than they were in a year ago?
Dude, everything will be fine once Jerkson Profar signs.
Well, he actually, I think, in the game notes, I think he signed. He just hasn't. It's a visa issue, isn't it? That's why he's not, because he hasn't literally signed because of his visa issue.
He's agreed to terms?
He's got to get here. That's happening. It's 1 year, $1 million. I'm not concerned about that.
You've heard it from Mike Schulte,
yeah.
Like, ask questions. Hey, about your bench, what are you going to do there? Your DH. There's a lot of like, I don't know.
We played that the other day. Yeah,
it's
a good question about the DH spot.
Yeah, it's funny you asked that.
Right.
Don't really know yet because we don't have a DH. Oh, our bench. The competition's pretty wide open.
Remember the Schill quote? Maybe we read it yesterday or 2 days ago that Kevin Acee had, which is like, in my time in baseball, I've never really had an open competition like this in spring training.
To this
level. Extent. So again, you add all this up, and some of it is valuable. Fighting for jobs, having positions that haven't been awarded, being hungry. Like, I think some of it is valuable, but at what point are you tipping the scales? There's like, it's just too much.
They have like the core. You have the superstar players.
Definitely.
You have the top end talent, right? Tatis, Manny, Joe, Darvish, Hassan Kim, Xander. You have that talent. What's been Preller's biggest issue here? He never has been able to build a cohesive, rounded out the edges roster. Never. 2022, closest he's ever got. And that team, I think, you could say that they're the best built team under Preller in his time here because they had they had a spot for every position, and like it felt the most complete. And they went to the NLCS, and that was a good roster. Good for his standards. This one's not even close. Not even close, because you're looking at a bench here, John, of like Matthew Batten, Eggy Rosario, Kyle Higashioka, and like Jose Azocar.
Yeah, maybe. And that's the funny thing is that's like, well, I would tell you that's like the least of the concerns, although it's concerning.
And who else? Am I missing somebody?
No, not really.
Maybe like a Graham Pauley or something like that.
Yeah, I mean,
or Cal Mitchell.
It's one of those things where it's like
Marcano.
Who knows? But who cares, to be honest, because they've got bigger concerns, I guess is the point. I mean, I don't even care who their fourth bench piece is because it's less relevant in the concerns that who's their fourth starter, who's their left fielder, who's their DH. But the point is valid that it's unfinished and it has nothing to do with today. That's the amazing thing about this. We wouldn't have been at it. Maybe we wouldn't have been having this conversation so strongly from this angle if they won today 14-1, because you say, oh, life is good. But I also would have said, like what I said yesterday, spring training's a mirage. You don't get into it until you're into it. And then you are. And there's no way out of it. Once the thing starts, it's April 1st. You don't all of a sudden make trades. It's not like the big April 1st trade. You can make a signing.
It don't happen.
You can make a minor signing. But once you're in it, you're in it. You have your system. You have your 26-man roster. And outside of that, good luck. You're in the thick of it. So they got some time to address their needs because it's February 22nd. But once it starts, it starts.
Yeah. You're not making big-time splashy moves or moves for a starting outfielder. Like, you're just not doing that.
Not April 9th.
No. And that's what scares me the most is that I don't know if what if they don't do it? What if they don't? What if, like I said, AJ's like, you know what? If I'm going out my way with my guys. I'm not going to break the bank to, have a stopgap when potentially I might not even be able to see the fruits of my labor here with the guys that I've put in this system. So screw it. I want to see these guys that I drafted and I got through international signings and whatever the case may be. I want to see my guys. Well, if that's the case, then Captain.
But the interesting thing, we talked about that this week as well. If that is his preferred plan, funny that this is your preferred plan all of a sudden because you haven't really executed on that the last 10 years with your system.
Or is there thinking more along the side of why go out and spend $11 million on Tommy Pham for next year when we can just have a much cheaper, controllable option in Jackson Merrill out there instead?
Yes, but it's also you get what you pay for.
Right.
You're not getting Jackson Merrill's 2028 season in 2024.
I know.
Just like I'd have to look, but my guess is Mike Trout's rookie season wasn't as good as his age 26 season.
Yeah.
You know, and that's an extreme example, but you understand my point. I'm not saying Tommy Pham is Mike Trout, but I'm saying there's a decent chance, I think we agree, that you pay for Tommy Pham, you probably get a little more production from the veteran than you would from a 20-year-old rookie in 2024. So it's like you get what you pay for. Now, again, maybe Merrill's better off for getting opportunities in 2024, and now the team's better in 2025. But to your point, it's probably going to be here in 2025 if you got to learn on the job. If you're Jackson Merrill in 2024,
yeah, I just don't see how you win 83 games this year and you miss the postseason and you can spin it again.
Right.
You know, like, oh, we did better than last year. Like, no, it's not the whole goal here. The goal is to make the postseason, especially with the payroll over $150 million. Like, that's just what it is. So there were some positives today, though. I think there were some positives. And I'm not saying that there's never going to be a positive with this team. It feels like all doom and gloom because they lost 14-1. Like, no. There's some things that are going to happen that are going to be real positives. You know, I expect Fernando to have a big season. I expect Manny Machado to have a bounce back year. I expect Xander to have a bounce back year. But, you know, you saw guys today like Yuki Matsui, kind of the unknown. What's he going to look like? I got a 4 or 5 year deal here? It was
some long deal. Yeah.
Looked fantastic today. Fantastic. I think their bullpen has a chance to be really, really good. Really good. I think Michael King is very intriguing. But, you know, it only is truly exciting if this team actually wins and competes for a playoff spot.
The one thing I do think that they are hoping to accomplish, when I hear Fernando Tatis Jr. day one of spring training say, I want to see Merrill on the opening day roster, I'm paraphrasing, but whatever he said, I think they do envision a lane for Merrill to play.
They're literally putting on a platform. These guys got to take it.
And he said today post game that, like, you know, I feel really free and loose and left, and the transition's not going to be hard. So we'll for whatever it's worth. I'm not overly concerned about his defense. If it's great, it's great. If it's average, it's average.
It's just bad.
You know, yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. He's got a hit. So if Merrill gets an opportunity, so be it. If there's one rookie on the opening day roster that has a chance to be impactful, it's understood that happens with other major league teams. But that alone isn't the only concern either. That's what we've been talking about. If it's just Merrill and everything else is buttoned up, you'd be like, okay, you know, they've got a complete roster and they're giving this rookie an opportunity because he's earned this spot. It just feels like Merrill is one player among a number of players that head into the regular season with question marks. I'm not going to be surprised when Merrill makes the team. But I might still be surprised by what they plan to do in center field, DH, fourth starter, fifth starter, yada, yada, yada. Again, the 14-1 result, the only thing that kind of sucks out of it is you've been waiting for 5 months and then you turn it on and it's 8-0 in the top of the first inning. And nobody wants to see that in any baseball game. That's not very fun. The game was over in like 10 minutes. So that wasn't very fun. But other than that, it's the unfinished team we talked about all offseason on the field.
I think fans can live with like one glaring hole in a team.
Yeah, definitely.
And they can live with that glaring hole being filled with a top prospect.
Right.
Like, that's an exciting thought if you're a fan of whatever team in baseball. Like, wait, our one glaring hole is being filled by a top prospect in our organization?
Yeah, great.
Hell yeah. Like, that's what I want to see. I want to see that prospect take that job. I want to see that prospect flourish. Like, that's what you love to see if you're a baseball fan, is your prospects come through your organization, perform at the big league level because they're under control for so long, and they're not going to cost you, you know, a 10-year, 11-year, $280 million contract.
Sure.
That's how you win in baseball, is you have your prospects come up and you mesh them with your, you know, high-priced players.
Definitely.
And that's when you get a World Series championship like the Texas Rangers last year.
Right. I mean, what's his name? Outman with the Dodgers last year burst onto the scene and again, compliment a core and a payroll.
They said bye-bye to Cody Bellinger and James Outman.
Hey, come on down.
And guess what? He became a really valuable piece for them as a rookie.
Now he's 27.
True. But still,
he was 25
through the organization.
Yeah,
they
exactly.
did that.
Yep.
I don't know if fans can live with like 5 glaring holes on a team.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, legitimately, maybe more as well.
I'm, you know, it's funny because early in the offseason, I'm like, yeah, give them the benefit of the doubt. There's time. It might not be perfect. They're not going to spend $200 million on Bellinger.
I said that too. I was like, there'll be
and they're not going to spend $100 million on Snell or whatever. But I'm like, now it's like, I don't know. Are we giving them the benefit of the doubt?
January 1 hit. I remember the show I came back in for after the new year, and I was like, I know I said a couple weeks ago that they have plenty of time, and I'm gonna, you know, wait and see. But I am starting to get a little nervous here.
I still think I'm going to stick to this tune. I still think something of significance occurs between now and opening day. Maybe it's a trade. Maybe it's a signing. I'm not saying Bellinger-esque or Snell-esque, but I'm saying of significance for this team. A trade for a starter, a trade for an outfielder. I could be off course, but I'm going to stick to that today. On February 22nd, a trade of significance will occur for the Padres because they recognize it if we recognize it.
I hope. Here's the thing. I think they do recognize it. It's about what resources do they have and can they use to address those concerns? Like if Preller literally doesn't have the money to go out and fill these holes that he wants to do, then why even try to do that? Just like save the money and just go with the young guys. And if he truly doesn't want to give up prospects for a player, he's not going to do it. He is a hold the line in the sand guy. He is not going to budge. When he has a evaluation on a guy, he's not going to budge.
Casey Dodd on X or Twitter. If you say the name Tommy Pham again, I will never listen to your station again. Tommy Pham. And I just quote tweeted as well. All right. On the other side, as we continue to react to the Padres Dodgers Cactus League opener, there's also news related to EA Sports college football video game in 2024. Is San Diego State going to be in this game? Will coaches be in this game? What will be the cost of this game? Are student athletes being compensated?
I don't care. I'll pay whatever.
Okay. We have some news for you on the other side, plus continued reaction to the opener for the Padres today. Brian Dutcher Coaches Show tonight at 6 p.m. for Aztec fans. Getting ready for Fresno State. This is hard to believe. Jaden Ledee said this earlier with the media. Only 4 regular season games remain this year.
That's wild.
Time flies. It really does. 4 regular season games remaining for San Diego State. But again, we've got some news for you related to that EA Sports college football video game. More reaction to Padres Dodgers next. All right, lower mortgage rates are here, and smart homeowners are wiping out all their credit card debt with help from Loan Pronto. Hey, guys, it's Schaefer. I sound like Jim. Right now, Loan Pronto has a cash-out refinance rate of just 5.49%. That is a huge drop, so you can get refinanced now, get cash out of your home's equity to wipe out all those credit cards and other high-interest loans. You can save hundreds every month with lower payments, or if you still have a mortgage rate in the threes, you can use Loan Pronto's Equity Express line of credit. Just get the cash you need and leave your primary mortgage intact. Loan Pronto can get you $50,000 or $100,000 or even $200,000 in just a matter of days. Bottom line is this: Loan Pronto has several options to help you erase debt and take control of your finances. If you call today, you can even skip your next 2 mortgage payments. Call Loan Pronto now. Here's the number: 619-207-4336. 619-4336.com. 619-207-4336. Equal housing lender. NMLS 1661781. 5.49% and 6.39% APR. Subject to lender approval.
Tommy Pham. All right, this update is brought to you by Toyota of Poway in the heart of San Diego. Padres Dodgers first Cactus League spring training game today. Dodgers won 14-1. Padres play the Dodgers again tomorrow. 12:05 first pitch. Johnny Brito on the mound for the Padres. Moving over to NFL news of the day. Former Aztec and Bills punter Matt Araiza signed a one-year deal with the Kansas City Chiefs. We have Lakers basketball tonight at 7 p.m. as they take on the Golden State Warriors. And before that, at 6 p.m., we'll have the Brian Dutcher Coaches Show with John and Coach Dutch right here on San Diego Sports 760. Don't miss the President's Day sales event all month long at Toyota of Poway with over 200 new and pre-owned Toyotas in stock. They'll help you find the Toyota of your dreams. Plus, with special finance rates, there's never been a better time to get a new Toyota. Visit them now or at toyotaofpoway.com.
All right, Brian Dutcher Show at 6 p.m. If you have questions for the head coach of the Aztecs, text them to us. We'll get to them all. 70470. Start your message with the word team. 70470. Start with the word team. Looking forward to catching up with Brian Dutcher tonight at 6 p.m. Aztecs, Fresno State Bulldogs. There was an interesting quote. It made me laugh from, real quick, Miles Byrd after the loss Tuesday to Utah State. Did I read this on air? He said something to the effect of, the last time we played in Fresno, remember the 45-43 game last year in February? This is an amazing quote from Miles Byrd. He said something to the effect of, the last time we played in Fresno, we set basketball back 15 years. No. That was Miles Byrd to the media after Tuesday's game.
That's funny.
They're all important, obviously. Fresno State's very familiar with San Diego State because of the coaching situation and vice versa. So we'll have it for you Saturday night, 7 p.m. pregame coverage at 6:30. But if you have a question for the coach of the Aztecs, the head coach, Brian Dutcher, 70470, start it with team. We're reacting to Padres Dodgers. Spoiler alert if you have it on tape. Don't watch it if you're a Padres fan.
Yeah, probably not. Probably not. You can watch like Yuki Matsui pitch and then
you can fast forward to different
Cronenworth had a nice at bat, hit a home run, but
other than that,
and Jackson Morrell had like a nice catch in left field.
Before we get back to Padres Dodgers, Brent, do you have some updates for us? EA Sports College Football 20, is it called 24 or 25?
25. It's always
it's
always a year ahead, John.
EA Sports 25. What are some details? This game is coming out. We've discussed at some point this summer. San Diego State is in this game, along with every FBS program. What are some other details that we found out earlier today?
Well, they released more of the details on the player compensation and everything. They released that players now that opt into College Football 25 will receive $600 each and a copy of the game, which is valued at $70. And ESPN noted that further student athletes that remain in the game for all of their collegiate football career, they could opt out for future installments. But, say you break the trend and actually go to college for more than 1 year. I know it's crazy. You'll get paid the $600 and the $70 game annually. So if you are on the team for 3 years, you're going to get $600 every year for 3 years plus a free game.
Well, don't football players at college have to be before they declare like in college for 2 years?
3
years. Yeah.
Football's 3. Of course, they could now with the 2-time transfer. I mean, they could play schools.
Basketball's 1, but
and that could even change in the future. Yeah. But you're right.
Yeah. So I can't.
And even if you transfer, you will also get paid as long as you are on the roster when you get transferred.
So you're gonna buy a PlayStation because of this? What's this gonna be on? PS5? What? Xbox?
Probably
are those the two systems
platforms.
Is there like a portable gaming system or something?
I would assume it's on PS5 and Xbox.
Okay.
Yeah, probably PC eventually.
But the cool thing is, so the old games, which it's the best sporting game. It's hard for me to find a better game sports wise than
the old college game,
college football, EA Sports. I know Madden used to be the top dog, but then to me, it fell off a cliff.
Well, because Madden got lazy, because when they monopolized the NFL, when they bought the exclusive rights, they had no reason to try anymore because they had no competition.
The one thing I was worried about with EA Sports college football is that they were just going to make it like Madden, but just adding certain features of the college football game.
That's pretty much what they're doing.
Well, they said it's not going to be like Madden.
But it is running on the Madden engine.
Yeah. That's what I saw that today. It's running on the Madden engine.
Well, okay.
Because it's been 10 years,
the
maybe.
Features of the game, though.
Yeah, what can you do? Wait.
They did unveil some of them. They said that, like we just said, it's going to be running on the Madden engine, which is called the Frostbite engine, but it's supposed to
the
include
Frostbite engine.
It's supposed to include every bowl game and incorporate a 12-team college football playoff system, which that's pretty up to date. NIL will be in the game. Transfer portal will be in the game,
dude.
And they said some of the newer inclusions will also be featured, even though they didn't go into detail about what or how they're going to be implemented. And the last piece of news is EA revealed that there will be no real life coaches in this year's game.
So no Sean Lewis
or Kirby Smart or anything like that. But
Gotcha.
they said it's something that in future games, that if they get something worked out, that could be something that they change, and we could have head coaches in the future.
Also, popular game modes Dynasty and Road to Glory will return. Dude,
I don't do anything with Dynasty anyways.
Can't wait. It's the best game, the best sporting game there is. I hope they don't F this up. I hope they don't ruin it. Because it was literally perfect
before.
Can
I ask a question?
What?
I'm going to.
Okay, fine.
Did they ever have college basketball?
Yes.
Is that coming on the other side of this? Isn't it similar?
I hope so, because
they play all the time.
Well, see, there's no monopoly on the basketball game. So EA had their own college basketball, and then 2K, and 2K's game was awesome.
Right.
So I'm kind of, there hasn't been as much like news or movement for the basketball game, but I'm hoping that they're going to do the same thing, and we can get college basketball 2K again.
I know you don't play video games,
but I would
play you play this?
I'll come over to your house.
I have to buy a PS5
I imagine
Perfect.
John playing Madden is like when I tried to play Madden with my dad once when I was in like middle school. Where
what buttons do I press?
Well, it's not even that. It's like he took 5 minutes to pick a play because he had to go through like every play in the playbook. And it's like, Dad, you have like 40 seconds. You have to pick a play.
I just want to do all the things other than the game. I want to do like name, image, and likeness.
They used to have that
to
where you could just do like a manager thing where you didn't even play the games, you just did all the stuff.
Like recruiting. It was so fun. I would just literally go after a 5-star recruit.
Like all you were at high school like every day.
Like all I did was try to like get this 5-star recruit to commit.
You're just at like Danny O'Neill's high school like all day long.
Yeah, pretty much. It was during COVID when I got college football 14.
Okay.
And I just made San Diego State a powerhouse.
I love this.
Powerhouse.
I love it.
And the problem was it only had the old stadium. So like I was playing at Qualcomm.
Yeah. I mean, it was 2014.
And then I made San Diego State I put them in the Pac-12 or the Pac-10 at the time because it was the Pac-10. So I was playing like USC and UCLA and then playing for national championship. It was just freaking awesome, dude. And I would create players and put them in the recruiting class, and I would try to recruit my own player that I created.
Right.
Like I created like the greatest player of all time. He was like a 5+ star recruit, 99 overall rating.
It's like Marshall Falk.
Yeah. It was great.
By the way, Aztec football today tweeting out the following things. First of all, retweeting that the Chiefs had signed Matt Araiza. So they've retweeted that today.
Mm-hmm.
In addition to that, they tweeted out, "We're in the game" at EA Sports College. And what's really cool is this morning when EA Sports like put out a tweet, they ran through all 134 FBS programs like quickly, like
yeah.
And San Diego State with their what's called Aztec calendar print, you know it. It's on the helmet, it's on uniforms. It's really unique print. Was part of that, one of the 134 images that were in the game. But they have a screenshot of the Aztec calendar from EA Sports and said, "We're in the game." So pretty cool.
Yeah,
really cool.
Kirk Herbstreit
and Chris Fowler
are both going to be returning for the game because they were
were in it that long ago.
Yeah, they were.
Wow.
And I think every single college,
including Notre Dame, which just opted in.
Yeah, they were the last holdout because now they still think they're relevant.
Did you see if a player opts out? Because obviously people will, but most will opt in. But let's just say someone opted out. Let's say the starting quarterback for Notre Dame opts out. They will then randomly generate a Notre Dame quarterback based on historical trends. So like what Notre Dame's quarterback has been for the last 10 years, they'll create that individual.
Well, what they used to do for like the NCAA college basketball 2K games, they would have like number 23.
I know, but that's name, image, and likeness.
Yeah, they can't
right?
do that.
I know, but
so now it's going to be a little different than that.
I don't care, honestly, if any players in the game. I don't care if Shadur Sanders in. I don't care.
Yeah.
Just give me the game. You can generate
from
random
there,
players.
Well,
that's all I care about.
Right.
That was always the dumb thing about the lawsuit was after you get past like your first 3 years anyways, all the players are just
different.
made up and just
Right.
randomly generated.
Right.
So if they would have just, when the game comes out in July, just start with the randomly generated
Sure.
players and don't go and make everyone, Caleb, USC's quarterback 13, make him, Caleb Williams height, weight, and everything else, but don't give him a name. Just skip that and go ahead and just use all randomly generated. And
nobody cares about the college player playing it on the video game. They just care about the game itself. The game itself
that's important.
Is what, like the dynasty mode, road to glory. Now if the NIL's in there,
but the
transfer
extra
portal.
But the cherry on top is it is cool to like envision the left tackle for San Diego State
is in the game.
Is actually in the game. That's cool. I think if you're a fan of the University of Florida and you're playing as the Gators, or you're a fan of San Diego State, it is cool that it is your players.
But as Brent said, if you're playing dynasty mode,
then they're out of the game within a couple years. Yeah.
And when you've played 3 seasons and you won 3 straight national championships,
everyone's in the NFL and gone.
The entire roster for every team is completely AI generated.
All right. On the other side, pandas are coming back to the San Diego Zoo, plus Jim's back page. That's next. All right, the Brian Dutcher Show is coming up at 6 p.m. You can text in your questions right now, 70470. Start your message with the word team, plus Jim's back page next. Casey will join the show tomorrow from Glendale following Padres-Dodgers game 2. Do you have to get a split here? I think you have to get a split.
Must win.
You got to get a
game.
split.
Must win game.
I don't want to hear about
Right. Must win game.
Schulte.
Must win game.
You got to win.
Must win game.
When's the next time? Here's a question, serious question for you, Jim. Because he was only going to pitch an inning anyway. Musgrove, he was only going to throw whatever, 20 or 30 pitches, and that's what he threw today. So does he now wait the full turn to pitch again? Like, are you off for 4 or 5 days here off 20 pitches and no outs? Or you bounce back a day sooner? Probably not. I guess you wait the 4 or 5 days, right?
Yeah, in Cactus League, it's more about pitches than innings, right? Like,
it was still 20 something.
Yeah, that was the positive. A lot of pitchers got work today.
Oh yeah,
a lot of reps.
12 of them. 12 pitchers got work today. All right, Brian Dutcher show coming up at 6 p.m. Again, Kevin Acee will join us tomorrow from Glendale. Get your questions in for Brian Dutcher right now. He'll join us at 6. 70470. Start your message with the word team. Right now, let's get to this.
All right, this is like
all I'm talking
the
about.
This is the most excited you've ever been in your entire life.
I should have texted Brent about it. I've bothered Jim so much about these pandas.
Dude. So do you want to say it? Because you're like Mr. Panda guy over here.
The pandas are coming back to the San Diego Zoo.
Yes. And and why is that, John?
Why is it? Because people really like pandas.
So it says
and
here,
the Chinese government is giving them back to the U.S. right on loan.
China plans to send San Diego Zoo more pandas this year.
Yeah,
reigniting its panda diplomacy.
Yes, bring those things back. Have you seen these things? I was sending Jim on Instagram videos of pandas sneezing.
Yeah, I know they're cute as hell.
They're awesome.
They're great. I said you should go buy one.
They're so boring.
You can't buy them.
I know you can't.
There's only 1,800 in the world. What do you mean they're boring? They eat bamboo.
Yeah, it's boring. I went to the zoo the one year when
Did
they
you
had
see
them.
them?
Yeah, we waited in line for like almost an hour just to watch them sit there and slowly nibble on bamboo.
China,
I was
a big
not
win
impressed.
for the zoo, man.
China, for the first time in more than 2 decades, is sending pandas to the United States to the delight of the San Diego Zoo, which is preparing to receive a pair that could include a female descendant of Ba Yun and Gao Gao.
Yeah, absolutely.
2 of the zoo's former residents that were among the most reproductively successful panda mates in captivity.
That's the key, because they're trying to grow the world's population of pandas.
Yeah, that's one way to put it, John.
As opposed to what?
They're breeding them, John. They're not trying to grow the world's population.
Well, I mean, they're trying to increase how many pandas there's only 1,800 of these fluffy little bears.
I like pandas, but I think you like pandas a lot.
I love pandas.
You are
Who doesn't love pandas?
Big panda man.
Dude, it's not a hot take to like pandas.
Could you imagine if the Padres signed Pablo Sandoval?
Oh my gosh, what a win that would be. Yes.
It'd be topical. There's another Kung Fu Panda coming out.
Like Jim tweeted yesterday, biggest offseason acquisition.
Yeah, it was all my idea, and it was the most original tweet I've ever had.
Offseason acquisition.
Yeah. KFC, John, is debuting a new menu item.
Okay.
Called the Cheesa.
Is that in America though?
Next week, KFC will embark on a culinary experiment that blurs the lines between fast food innovation and global gastronomic curiosity with its debut of the Cheesa.
Okay.
This new limited time offering, arriving in the US on Monday, is a mashup that places 2 extra crispy fried chicken fillets beneath a layer of zesty marinara sauce, melty mozzarella cheese, and crispy pepperoni.
And is this in the US or not?
It's not a pizza, it's a Cheesa. Yes, I just said
I would eat it.
It's arriving on Monday.
I had to check because I saw it earlier in the it is one of those things that started outside the US and then they're bringing it in.
Would you go get that?
In the
Either
Philippines
of you?
in 2015.
Are either of you racing
Hell
over?
yeah, I'd get it.
Okay.
Dude, John, all it is it's just like a KFC chicken breast with some mozzarella cheese and some pepperoni on top.
Yeah, give me
It's just
another
pretty much
kidney
like
stone. Screw it.
pizza topping on it. It'll be
Dude.
worth it.
Yeah, it's fine.
What else do you have?
The Choco Taco is returning.
Wow.
Oh, I saw that too. It's a big week for tacos.
Yeah, it was discontinued in 2022. It is making a comeback.
Okay.
This summer, John. So if you want a Choco Taco, you're in luck. They're coming back to stores this summer. And yeah, there you go. The Choco Taco returning this summer. But
I've missed it.
Here's where you can get it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Starting this summer, Salt and Straw is offering a little bit of an elevated version of the Choco Taco, featuring cinnamon, ancho ice cream, hardened chocolate, and toasted brown rice. It's paired with a custom dipping sauce. Salt and Straw, which has locations throughout the West Coast, Las Vegas, and Miami, took to social media this week to unveil the new collaboration.
Isn't there a Salt and Straw in San Diego?
There is, downtown.
Yeah.
In Little Italy.
Yeah. It's a nice spot. Seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
An ice cream company out of Portland, Oregon, is teaming up with Taco Bell to recreate the dessert and bring it back to the public once more.
Okay.
So, I love Choco Tacos, by the way.
They're
fantastic.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Good timing.
And finally, McDonald's is creating an anime-inspired fast food experience called the WickDonald's. McDonald's is launching a new anime series called Welcome to WickDonald's. McDonald's is an anime version of McDonald's that has been featured in popular anime movies and shows. Starting Monday, McDonald's will be launching WickDoddles in over 30 markets worldwide. The restaurant will transform into a WickDoddles. I'm not saying that right. WickDonald's universe featuring new sauces, mega-inspired packaging, and an episode short.
McDonald's. So is like Grimace going to go Super Saiyan if you
maybe
go there, or what?
Every Monday through March 18th, a new short episode will be released along with new content on wickdonalds.com.
I don't even understand this.
Or by scanning the code on the WickDonald's bag. The shorts will celebrate 4 of anime's biggest action, romance, fantasy, and
Hipster McDonald's they opened for all the millennials.
Yeah.
Look, it's like anime, like McDonald's.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
McDonald's anime shorts.
Oh, great.
Yeah,
on my way.
All right.
I don't even know what you're talking. I was like a different language.
I know it was.
It seriously was. All right, Brian Dutcher Show on the other side at 6 p.m. If you've got questions for the head coach of the Aztecs, we'd love to hear from you. 70470. You can start your message with the team. You can call us 877-767-4760. We're back tomorrow at 3, reacting to Game 2 of the Cactus League schedule, and Kevin Acey will join us as the Padres play the Dodgers again. All right, if you missed anything today, sportssd.com, iHeartRadio app, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify. Find us on social at Jon and Jim. We're back tomorrow. Brian Dutcher Show is next. For Brent and Jim, I'm John. Keep it here. It's San Diego Sports 760.
Okay, peace out. Bye.